you've sent something to me this weekend, and you said, what is the name of this place?
Freedom Project.
Freedom Project.
Freedom Project.
Freedom Project.
Freedom Project.
Freedom Project Academy. Yes, we love them.
And you know, one of the toughest decisions we can make as parents is
Oh, I wish I was in the land of cotton. Old times there are not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. In Dixieland, where I was born in early on one frosty morning. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. Then I wish I was in Dixie. Hooray, hooray. In Dixieland, I'll take my stand to live and die in Dixie. Away, away, away down south to Dixie. Away, away, away down south to Dixie. There's buckwheat cakes and Injun batter, makes you fat or a little bit fatter. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. I'll kick and ball and scratch for gravel. Dixie's where I'm bound to travel. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. Then I wish I was in Dixie. Hooray, hooray. In Dixieland I'll take my stand to live and die in Dixie. Away, away, away down south to Dixie. Away, away, away down south in Dixie. When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. The ladies, they will all turn out, the men will cheer and the boys will shout, and we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home.
of Rosalie, but the yellow rose of Texas is the only girl for me. Find her, my heart is full of woe. We'll sing the songs together we sang so long ago. I'll pick the banjo gaily and sing the songs of yore. The yellow rose of Texas will be mine forevermore. She's the sweetest little rosebud a fellow ever knew. Her eyes are bright as diamonds, they sparkle like the dew. You may talk about your Clementine and sing of Rosalie, but the yellow rose of Texas is the only girl for me. The yellow rose of Texas is the only girl for me.
At dawning, birdies sing and everything the sun kissed me said, don't be late. That's why I can hardly wait. Open up that golden gate. California, here I come.
California, I've been blue since I've been away from you. So lonely and only dreaming of home. I wander and ponder sunny places, friendly faces.
When you hit the trail a while, seems you rarely see a smile. So I'm heading home in style. California, here I come. Sun.
Each morning at dawning, birdies sing and everything.
The sun kissed me, said, don't be late. That's why I can hardly wait. Open up that sun-stretched golden gate. California, 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 here I come. Yeah! This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled and I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me
voice was shouting, this land was made for you and me. The sun was shining and I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving and the dust clouds rolling. As the fog was lifting, a voice was chanting, this land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. This land is made for you and me.
All right, people.
Don't take it off because I got to use
Just keep it there for a second.
Is the power on?
Nope,
I'll go get them to take it.
Let me see it.
it's not on.
Let me take a look here.
I think
Testing.
we can control it remotely. It's not on. Guaranteed.
Okay. I can. I mean, I've got to do an intro to this whole event here. But you go ahead and bring on the song. Okay.
You betcha. I can do it, my friend. Do you want me to take this off?
It's muted until it starts, so you got 27 seconds.
I understand. I'm going to hold this. I'm going to hand it to you.
We got people out in the foyer still, so.
I understand, but we got to start. All right, everybody, we're ready to go. My name is Sam Bushman. I'm the CEO of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, and we were able to put this together with the wonderful church we're in. Give them a super shout for all their incredible work, will you please? Our dear friend Larry will be the MC tonight, but the reason I wanted to start is because we're going to start out with a country song. And the reason we're starting out with a country song is because it sets the standard for all the speakers tonight. And it sets the standard as you walk away tonight. And what I want you to do is pay very close attention to the lyrics. But before you hear the song and hear the lyrics, I want to tell you, it was created by a gentleman, a friend of mine by the name of William. And William lives in Northern California. William runs horses on the land there. And he is an educator that teaches that if we let the horses run, we wouldn't have the incredible hot, out-of-control wildfires. The reason we have them is because the government doesn't take care of the land properly. Well, anyway, what he did was he was there when the fires came. And the fires ruined his wife's lungs, and she died. William lives today, but the fires ruined his lungs. He was a musician, and he used to play and sing, but now he can't sing anymore. So he wrote the lyrics, and he plays the instruments, but there's an AI voice that sings for him. It's a true story, I promise you. I interviewed him on my radio program, and that's how I know about him. But Mr. Simpson, William truly has a message for you tonight. I want you to listen to it, and then Larry will take over and be the MC for tonight. Listen up.
There's a shadow on the courthouse, on the flag out in the yard, where the ones who promise justice learn to play their wicked cards. Wolves dressed up like neighbors, talking sweet and acting grand, but the truth keeps pulling curtains on the lies they tried to plan. And the Lord don't buy excuses, don't take bribes, and doesn't boast. Every secret that they're hiding, yeah, he sees it clearer than most. So raise your voice, you truth tellers, stand tall and hold the line. You're the lanterns in the midnight, you're the ones who still shine. Though the wicked swing their hammers, trying to nail you to a lie. There's a penalty for truth, but there's a blessing when you try. Oh, stand firm through the fire while the masks fall to the side. They can quote their Sunday scriptures with a silver-tongued parade, but a serpent knows the Bible just as well as saints who pray. Rotten fruit on every branch where vows were once alive, serving pockets, serving clicks, not the folks they swore to guide. But there's judgment on the doorstep, and it's coming sure and fast. 'Cause the Lord don't lose a heartbeat when he calls out truth at last. So raise your voice, you truth tellers, stand tall and hold the line. You're the lanterns in the midnight, you're the ones who still shine. Though the wicked swing their hammers, trying to nail you to a lie. There's a penalty for truth, but there's a blessing when you try. Oh, stand firm through the fire while the mask fall to the side. Rise up every good heart, this land's worth the fight. For the ones who guard our freedoms in the silence of the night. Let the cowards chase their paychecks, let the faithful chase what's right. Truth will ride like thunder through the darkness till the light. So stand your ground, you truth tellers, God is watching when you rise. You're the thin blue line of courage, cutting clean through all the lies. And though speaking truth is costly, heaven knows the reason why. There's a penalty for truth, but it's worth it when you try. Yeah, it's worth it when you try.
Fantastic. If it ain't country, it ain't music, right? We've got a lot of folks here from the Southwest United States here. A lot of good lawmen, and we want to make them feel right at home. Anyway, God bless y'all from coming out tonight. Why don't we turn and do the Pledge of Allegiance right now? Okay? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have a lot of speakers who are, we're going to be really under a time crunch. We're going to keep things moving. I've got a timer up there. We have a number of speakers that are going to, they're going to have a 5-minute opportunity to speak out, and our first few speakers are going to be from some of our local heroes, and then we'll get into the meat of the program a little later with. Okay, we have it. Okay. I guess we have the national anthem, and we're going to do that right now.
Hand over your heart, please, unless you're carrying, you know the drill. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land
So Carrie was a last-minute addition. That was Carrie French. I found out this week she is our pastor Dennis's wife's cousin. But we have a lot of talent in the area. But thank you, Carrie. So, you all braved Meridian Avenue. Or, my God. That's thank you for doing that, especially you folks from out of town, not used to that. It's hard to get people out anymore, but look at this crowd. Looks like we got the right people. Yeah. So I want to welcome to Save Our Sheriffs. Tonight we gather to stand against efforts in Washington to take away our rights to elect sheriffs at a time when crime is skyrocketing and the rule of law is under attack. This is about protecting our families, our neighborhoods, and the brave men and women who enforce the law. We're honored to hear from keynote speakers Sheriff Keith Swank, Pierce County's elected sheriff. Keith is steadfast in supporting officers and restoring law and order. Sheriff Richard Mack, former Graham County Sheriff and national leader in defending constitutional rights. And then we've got General Michael Flynn. Many of you know his story, but he's a retired lieutenant general and former national security advisor who has stood for truth and integrity and American sovereignty, even under politically motivated attacks. That's almost too nice to think of the treatment they gave the good general. Along with our other distinguished speakers, all of them exemplify the courage and principles we need to support our law enforcement, defend the rule of law, and protect our right to choose our sheriffs. Thank you for being here. Let's get started. If I could get Ann Jolie to come up. Okay, I'm sorry. Bear with me here. Pastor Cummings. This is his church, Experience Church. They've been here. They've been here since 2004, and they've brought a visionary approach to ministry, using innovation and digital outreach to impact lives around the world. A third-generation minister with a background in business, technology, and media. Pastor Dennis is deeply committed to helping people grow in their relationship with Christ, discover hope, and live with faith and purpose. He is known for his unwavering support for local law enforcement and his courage to go against the political grain, standing firm in biblical values while building a thriving, prosperous church, even in challenging environments. Not an easy job. Through his willingness to lead boldly, love generously, and serve faithfully, Pastor Dennis has made Experience Church not only a place of worship, but a pillar of strength for the broader community. And he's going to say a few words here.
Good evening. Tonight I want to be the tuning fork to set the tone. A lot of people are saying, why am I hosting this event at a church? It's because we're facing an epidemic in the state of Washington. Not of illness, not of ignorance, but an epidemic of willful confusion. It's men abandoning their responsibilities, leaders surrendering their clarity, and institutions trading truth for comfort. And this confusion is no longer abstract, it's visible, it's tangible, it's tampons in the men's restrooms. It's willful, institutionalized confusion. And the result is leaders who are unwilling to say what is obvious and are afraid to affirm what is true, and they're too timid to protect the order of sanity. When responsibility is abandoned, confusion always rushes in to fill the vacuum. We're watching this in the world today, and it's unraveling at its foundations. The world can't seem to define what a woman is, but it's because the church has forgotten what it means to be a man. The question shouldn't be asked, what is a woman? The question should be, where are the men? Pastors that have lost their testicular fortitude to proclaim the truth of God's word. There's an old saying, when good men do nothing, evil triumphs. Let me tell you something. I changed that saying because when good men do nothing, they're no longer good. They're a part of the evil. Silence is never neutral. Passivity is never considered harmless, and abdication is never virtuous. And here's the uncomfortable truth that we have to face before I pray. The greatest crisis that we're dealing with is not violent men, it's effeminate men. Let me be clear, it's not about personalities or sensitivities or temperaments. Effeminacy is about softness towards their responsibility. It's men without a backbone. It's men without the presence of leadership in their life. It's not knowing what is right. It's refusing to say what is right. It's Adam standing silent while the serpent spoke. He wasn't confused. He was not deceived. He was quiet. And in his silence, he transferred his authority to the chaos. And the pattern has not changed. When men go silent, confusion grows loud. When men refuse to lead, others fill the vacuum. When men shrink back, families are weakened, systems rot. And you know what? Masculinity is not toxic. Silence is. This is why the church matters. It's the ecclesia. The church matters, and this is why men matters. This is why leadership matters. That's why tonight matters. But when we grow silent, government grows bigger when fathers grow small. So we don't need louder rhetoric. We need men that will lead their homes. Men that will lead in truth without apology. Men that will not outsource their responsibility to the government. Not with rage, not with violence, but with conviction, with clarity and courage. Let us stand and pray. Father, today we proclaim truth in this place. Not man's truth, not wisdom from man, not earthly, which is puffed up and proud and demonic. But God, your sovereign wisdom that comes from your infallible word, the word of God that is so true and it sets us free. It's the very truth that the world covers their ears and screams in agony because they refuse to bow their knees to the truth. But tonight, God, your truth has paramount reign in this place. It is your authority that we stand under as our supreme leader, God Almighty, through the power of Jesus Christ. And for that we pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor. You see why his church is packed every Sunday. Thank you, Dennis. Okay, Ann Jolie is a you know her. She's a grassroots community activist dedicated to civic involvement, local engagement, and strengthening family-centered values. She has been instrumental in building a strong grassroots attention, or bringing grassroots attention to the urgent need to support law enforcement in Pierce County. Through sustained community advocacy, combined with a measure led by County Council members Dave Morrell, Paul Herrera, and Amy Kruver, the council successfully secured a $5,000 Christmas bonus for law enforcement officers. This was all thanks in large part to Ann Jolie, a grassroots momentum that she built. The measure achieved a 7-0 vote, marking a significant bipartisan victory for a Republican-led effort. Come on up, Ann Jolie. And our timer, she gets another 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Ann Jolie, as you now know. I'm a mother and a grandmother, and I live here in Pierce County. I just wanted to take a couple minutes to explain why I'm standing here. I've never really been an activist. I wasn't overly involved in politics. I was aware, but like a lot of people, I thought that if I just got on Facebook and, posted things, that I've done my duty. But that all changed last September. You see, my daughter needed help. It wasn't a 911 call, but she needed a sheriff's deputy. She called, and one couldn't come. And then she called again the next day, one couldn't come. Third day, still no deputy. Not because they didn't care, but because there was nobody available to send. And that really shocked me, because when your child calls for help, you expect someone to come. I started asking myself, what's going on in this county? I mean, we're in the top 6.6% of taxpayers in the entire nation, and we can't get a deputy when we need one. I mean, they collect over $2 billion a year from us. So I started asking questions, and I went and I met with the county executive's office. I met with the council members. I called the sheriff's office. I talked to the guild. And what I found out was kind of shocking. This isn't a money issue. We have the money. This is an allocation issue, and this is a priority issue. Our county executive, Ryan Mello, is responsible for funding our sheriff's department. Instead of funding them, he's taken them to court. And that pressure is crushing our department. Deputies are leaving, and we're losing them at an alarming rate. I also learned that Pierce County already was the worst deputy-to-resident ratio in the entire nation. I mean, we're dead last, the very bottom of the barrel. And they're not getting properly funded. So our deputies are being recruited away. I mean, as of today, I don't have somebody assigned to my graveyard shift anymore, and this is unsafe. It's unsafe for our families, and it's unsafe for our deputies. Our men and women in blue deserve more. They put their lives on the line every single day to protect my kids, your kids, our families, and our neighborhoods. They respond to calls now alone, not knowing if backup will come. They're driving 70 miles. They're working constant overtime just to keep this county covered. And that is unacceptable. These are our deputies. They deserve better, and we deserve better. So, yes, thank you. So I decided I was going to do something. I didn't know exactly what to do, but I think that people needed to be aware. So I started making these little cards, these little flyers, and I started handing them out to people, and I had a little message on them that said, call our county's executive office, tell them to fund our deputies. People started calling. I mean, hundreds of calls started pouring in. But Pierce County, as I found out, is very big, and I couldn't hand a card to everybody. So I decided, well, I'm going to shoot a commercial. I've never done that before, but I shot a commercial. And I paid, and I had it aired on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and YouTube. And the great thing about YouTube is you can target where you put that ad. And guess where I targeted? Ryan Mello's house. So he saw mine and Rich's face every single day. Well, when people started learning what was happening, they responded, they took action. In just 3 months, we drove hundreds and hundreds of calls to the executive office, hundreds of letters to the county council, and gained some news media attention. And you know what happened? Things started to change. Shortly before Christmas, we helped push through a $1.5 million retention bonus to help keep our deputies here. This happened because people were watching. And then I realized something. The biggest part of the problem was me. For years, I did nothing. I didn't know what was happening. I wasn't trying to find out. And you know what? I believed that my voice didn't matter. I thought there was nothing I could do. But I was wrong. One voice matters. Do you know that every phone call equals 100 voices to an elected official? Because if you're upset, there's at least 99 more people that are upset. but only one person picks up the phone to call. Only one person will write that letter. So your voice has power. My grandparents were Italian immigrants in New York. New York, Italian. And they drug us to every single council meeting. When we were kids, we went to every meeting, every neighborhood meeting. They drug us there, and people were there. The rooms were crowded. I mean, people were on fire. They never missed one. The rooms were packed, people yelled, but they showed up. Decisions were made with them, not for them. Today, our council meetings are empty. We've lost that over the last 20 or 30 years. Our children and our grandchildren will pay the price for what we fail to do today. Please listen to the people speaking here. These are the ones fighting for public safety. They need your support. Support your sheriff. Get your council members' phone numbers, get their email addresses, call them, but more importantly, write them. Show up to meetings. Set an example for your kids and grandkids. We owe this to our children. We owe this to our grandchildren. That's our job. Our grandparents did it for us. We need to do it for them. We have a website and a Facebook page called Pierce County Safe. You can join us. You can message me. I'll go to a council meeting with you. I'll help you write the letter. Because as you heard a couple minutes ago, bad things happen when good people do nothing. What we're living through today is a result of years of silence, and it's time to be present. Thank you.
Ann Jolie, thank you for all you do. Our next speaker, Senator Jim McCune. A lot of you know Jim. Jim is widely respected for his unwavering commitment to Christian values, the rule of law, and support for law enforcement. He stands with the men and women who protect our communities, advocating for moral leadership and public safety through his work in the Senate and with MACPAC. Senator McCune continues to be a bold voice for a faith-based governance and protecting those who serve on the front lines. You can learn a lot more and get involved at MACPAC by visiting Jim's table on the way out tonight. Make sure you do that. Jim McCune.
I think I'll hold it. Yeah. Good evening. I'm actually used to holding a mic. That's what we do in Olympia. So anyways, good evening again. What I want to begin with is thanking the men and women of Pierce County and the County Sheriff's Department for every law enforcement officer who stands watch over our communities. Thank you. They far more do, far more do than enforce statutes. They stand on the front lines defending our God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Scripture tells us in Romans 13 that the governing authorities are God's servants for good, agents of justice, restrain evil, and protect the innocent. That is exactly what our deputies do every day for us. And yet today, the very officers are being undermined, not by criminals alone, but by politicians who apologize for the lawbreakers and criticize the people sworn to stop them who uphold justice. I spent 8 years on Pierce County Council fighting for better public safety officers, more public safety officers, and better pay on Pierce County. That was a hard job. Yet Washington State ranks, and you heard, at the bottom nationally, and police coverage is really slim in Washington State, and Pierce County is not very good in coverage at all. But instead of fixing that, the majority party in the state would rather defund, demoralize, and politicize law enforcement officers. It's not compassion, is abandonment. Let me share a little history because Pierce County teaches us something happened when justice is weak. Pierce County was founded in 1852 and named after President Franklin Pierce. Like all governments, our county had seasons of strength and seasons of failure. One of the darkest chapters came in the 1970s when corruption reached all the way into the sheriff's office. The sheriff, George Janovich, was convicted of racketeering, bribery, protecting criminal enterprises, including prostitution and trafficking. That scandal taught us something powerful. Laws alone do not restrain evil. Righteousness, hearts do. The heart, that why Jeremiah 17:9 warns us that the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Friends, when the political party builds its platform on feelings and facts and ideology instead of truth, corruption is not an accident, it's a natural result. In response to that past corruption, Pierce County citizens took action. In 1980, they adopted a home rule charter that began accountability and checks and balances back to the county government. Late in 2008, the people restored what they should have never removed is elected sheriff. Accountability directly to the people in Pierce County. Because law enforcement works best when it answers to the citizens in Pierce County and all over the state. Not bureaucrats, not activists, and not party bosses. Yet today, once again, you hear a call, almost always from the political left, to strip the accountability away, to replace the elected sheriff with an appointed one, and tucked safely under the executive who answers more to downtown Tacoma woke politics than the families of unincorporated Pierce County. That's not reform, that's control. And we all know who benefits from criminals face less accountability. It's not the people of Pierce County and the good families. The Bible is a blueprint in 1 Timothy 1:8 through 11. Law is good if one uses it lawfully. It is made not for the righteous, but for the lawbreakers and insubordinate. God's law and man's law were never meant to be enemies. Civil law exists and reflects moral accountability and restrains evil, protects families, and preserves God's liberty. But today, the modern Democrat Party has decided that criminals are victims, police are villains, and truth is negotiable. And it is not justice, it's an upside-down morality. When government separates law from morality, when justice is detached from truth, when leaders fear Twitter more than they do God, the result is not compassion, it's chaos. Okay. And this is where the battle lies, not in elections, but in the spiritual foundations. Psalms 11:3 asks, if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? The answer is simple. Pray, stand, build, and rebuild. Pray for our officers, stand for truth. And when we rebuild the moral foundations of our homes, our churches, our communities, and the cultural elites may mock us for it. But President Abraham Lincoln said the philosophy in the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy in government. This is the major problem we have. Look at our schools today. Look at what they are being celebrated and what they are being silenced on. And then look at the policies that are coming out of Olympia. The connection is not accidental, it's intentional. Friends, America has drifted far from its principles that made her strong. Biblical justice, moral accountability, liberty under God, and the Democrat Party has been leading us adrift leftward for decades, trading truth for trends and righteousness for political power. Friends, do not be deceived. God will not be mocked. Only the truth will set us free as a nation. We are called as believers and citizens to be salt and light in a darkened culture. Support our law enforcement officers, defend the rule of law, and restore the truth of real justice that flows from God. Tonight, let us commit ourselves to three things: pray boldly, stand courageously, and act faithfully. Because when God's law shapes our hearts, and when righteous men and women enforce just laws, our nation is strengthened. Thank you, and God bless you.
Good job. It's our beloved Jim McCune, Senator Jim McCune. How many of you know that Jim was a Copper River salmon fisherman way back when? Fantastic. And Jim's a wealth of knowledge. He's read and memorized David Barton books. I know that. At any rate, I got to move things along here. Next up is Pastor Dennis Cummings. No, I'm sorry. Got to turn the page. Okay. Pastor Eric Lundberg. Pastor Lundberg leads Living Word Lutheran Church with a steadfast commitment to biblical teaching, discipleship, and community leadership. He's a respected presence at the state capitol and in Pierce County. He is unafraid to let his Christian values guide his advocacy and is a bold supporter of law enforcement, moral leadership, and the rule of law. A father of 8 with a commanding presence. He's got a commanding presence and a powerful voice, probably doesn't need a mic. Pastor Eric boldly stands for truth. He protects families. He defends those who serve our communities. And with his deep voice and powerful arms, see if you don't agree with me, but Eric reminds me of a modern-day Apostle Peter.
I'll take it. All right, God bless you. Thank you all for being here. Like he said, my name is Eric Lundberg. I believe that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through him. I believe in marriage is between one man and one woman. I believe that life begins at conception. I believe that there are two genders, man and woman. And I believe that Christians, especially pastors, must speak out about the issues of the day. And if this is your home church, you had better pray for your pastor, please, because he is taking a massive risk saying what he says, because he's speaking the truth into power. What brings me here tonight is because I believe in law and order. And I believe that law and order were both designed by our God to hold society together and to protect our culture from evil. As a minister, I have noticed that over the past decade, a sharp decline of the nuclear family, a decline of morality, a decline of American values, all fueled by the rejection of both divine and civic accountability. There is a systematic agenda towards a Marxist takeover of the American ideology, citizen-government relationship, with truth and reality being the primary target. We can no longer deny that our nation is torn in two by an ideological civil war. And caught in the crossfires of that spiritual and ideological battle is our good law enforcement officers. I strongly believe that law enforcement and public service is far more than employment and duty. It is a calling. I believe it is a divine calling to protect, facilitate, manage, and uphold the laws of our nation and the order of our society. There is a progressive agenda that works to deconstruct that calling by creating laws that are fluid, unconstitutional, and ultimately designed to serve the wicked and punish the righteous. These attempts are already working to erode the order that holds our society together, and with it, those who are charged with protecting that order. What we see activated in legislation and committees and boards and councils all across our area is a battle plan targeting that order with the scheme of shaping a new world outside of the accountability our laws hold us to, and outside of that order that makes us a civil society. The strategy to underfund and undermine the sheriff's department has little to do with fund availability and everything to do with the attempted removal of accountability that tethers us to American values. This is the left's global campaign against liberty, freedom, the Constitution, and American ideals. And our officers are the last line of defense. We are watching as the citizenry, especially over the last few days, become manipulated by the left's agenda to reject the laws of our nation and focus that rejection onto our officers at every level. This has put all our officers in a seemingly impossible situation because truth and reality has been polluted and perverted. This is an attempt to demoralize, discourage, demonize our deputies from fulfilling their calling. If we look to scripture in the book of Esther, a man named Mordecai, who is Esther's uncle, encourages her with the following words as she prepares to expose a plot to exterminate the Jewish people. She is standing in the way of chaos and evil, attempting to bring order and righteousness, much like our officers do in today's context. Let the words of Mordecai echo in every one of your hearts, especially our good officers. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. I want to encourage all of you good officers tonight. As citizens, we will never understand fully the burden that you carry to fulfill your calling, but God does. And He will strengthen you. For He created your position. He entrusted you with this calling because society needs you. We, the people, need you. Your city needs you. Your fellow officers need you. Even those who work to discredit and undermine law and order need you. And our nation needs you. And generations that have yet been born that hope for any kind of future in America need you. And I want to close by prophesying the benediction over all of our officers. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May He cause His face to shine upon you. May He be gracious unto you and give you peace. God bless all of you.
Thank you, Pastor. He's a powerhouse. Our next speaker, Amy Kruver, Pierce County Council member. Amy says skip a lot of that, but I do want to mention that Amy brings a strong Midwestern work ethic. Boy, does she work. Deep conservative values, the rule of law. Okay, that's enough. You all know Amy? Here you go.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I tell you, I feel really privileged to be here tonight. I'm used to being in that part, not this part. But we all know, we all want to be able to walk our streets at night. We should be able to feel safe walking our streets at night. But we know that right now we are not able to do that. We are short of our officers. And it is my hope that tonight that when you leave, that you will be encouraged to be engaged and that you will have a plan of action that you can follow or at least to become involved. So we know that as the earth was being formed, it was full of chaos, and we've heard that word tonight several times, and I just happen to have it in my notes as well. But we know that out of that chaos came order, and out of that order, we got our peace officers, our law and order. And I tell you, our law enforcement are being challenged right now. When I look at the legislature and the bills that they have passed and bills that they could pass, we should be concerned. The Keep Washington Working Act basically prohibited conduct. It defines what conduct is prohibited. There's House Bill 2015, which defines how the system can be funded and evaluate. And in the hopper that was introduced last session, but it almost got through the House, but that one is House Bill 1399, and it defines who may serve and under what professional standards. So we kind of have a trifecta if that bill were to get passed. We have a short session, maybe not, but it could be an opportunity for you to be engaged. So have a lot of folks that always ask me, so what do I do? How can I be involved? Because we're filled with all of this, my vote doesn't count, I knock on doors, doesn't seem to matter. We cannot stop relenting on this. What got me involved, probably since around 2012, I joined a group called Center for Self-Governance, CSG. And there was like learning how to maintain the system, because government is a system of laws. So if you're in an airplane and it's going down, the pilot's not going to tell you how to fix the plane. The passengers aren't going to tell you how to fix the plane. It's going to be the mechanic. And so I would encourage you to look at that website and maybe some of those courses you can take at centerforselfgovernance.com. And the other thing that you can do is be involved with watching different organizations. I happen to watch a lot of Washington Policy Center. They inform me on the issues. I watch Senate and House hearing bills when they are going on. Those can help you understand what other people are saying, what the lobbyists are saying, what are points of the bill. You can learn from watching that and then learn to be able to testify yourself. The other thing you can do is, meet your neighborhood. I guess my challenge would be if 100 people here tonight were to knock on 5 doors, just 5, that's 500 other homes that are reached, and just share with them, not being political, just say, I'm kind of concerned with how things are going. Are you? And that way you can kind of get a camaraderie going. Maybe they will also knock on 5 doors if you ask them to do that. And then maybe they will start paying attention to what is going on at the legislature, at the county level, at the state. You need to find your niche in that. So then, where am I going from here? So now that we are looking at things that you can do, learn to speak the language of liberty, not the language of captivity. Because it's easy to say how, nothing works, overcome that, keep your chin up and go out and do that. And so anyway, tonight I'm going to finish early. We have a lot going on, but I want to encourage you to get involved, meet your neighbors, get to know your legislators, get educated on different things. Hillsdale College has a lot of good things as well. Watch your, before I forget, something very important is watch what committee hearings are doing. Watch what the organizations are doing. There is the health department, they have a lot of money. Watch their hearings, their meetings, their budget meetings. Watch the Puget Sound Regional Council. They are the ones who actually have to sign off on the things that we do. They have a lot of authority. So understand the systems and be involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. I should mention that Amy's not afraid to be the sole no vote on ordinances she believes undermines public safety, community values, and private property rights. Thank you, Councilmember Kruver, for your diligence. Next up is Sheriff Robert Songer, a career law enforcement professional dedicated to constitutional law enforcement and public service. Come on up, Bob. God bless you.
God bless. Wow, what a turnout. Good deal. That means we got some good people in this crowd. Yeah. I want to thank everybody that put this on, Sheriff Mack, the church here, and the ministers and so forth, and I met a new friend today, Sheriff of Pierce County. It seems like we're going to be, we kind of walk in the same direction on all of these issues. But on, and I know I got a timer going, and if you know me at all, 5 minutes just go by. Senate Bill 5066 is another one that hasn't got too much attention, but if it passes, it's going to allow the Attorney General to investigate law enforcement and bring charges on that stuff. But I don't know why they're doing it. I think they're covering you-know-what, because they already have me under investigation. Attorney Generals, they've asked for my emails, and they've gone through the records disclosure process. And I had gentleman that had called in, wanted all these records, and he's applied for them. And I got a chance to talk to him. And I asked him if he was working for the Attorney General's office. He denied that, but he was very anxious to get the information for the Attorney General. And I said I could save you some time, because you know why they're investigating me? Because I might have talked to ICE. Oh my gosh. So I said to this gentleman, I said, and he wanted the tape recorded, I consented. And I said, well, we'll get you all the information we got, any records we have. We're just, we're not trying to hide anything. We'll get it to you. But I said I could save yourself a lot of time. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, first of all, I'm going to call ICE anytime I want to, period. I said, secondly, I have an invitation for Tom Holman to come to Clickitat County and ride shotgun with me, and we'll go out and get illegal aliens. And his word to me, the Attorney General is going to talk to you. And I said, good, have him call me. He hasn't called yet. Where does our government of this state get off Fergie, oh, I meant Ferguson, Fergie and the Attorney General's office trying to knock down sheriffs, who's the only, by the way, the constitutional sheriffs, you know this, all elected sheriffs, you know who their boss is? You, the citizens of this county. It's not the government, it's not the county commissioners, although they can play with your budget pretty much, but it's not them. It's the citizen you serve that elected you to office. That's your boss. You better intervene when their rights are being violated by the state. And this Senate Bill 5974 violates your rights. It takes your choice away who you want to elect as sheriff. It's that simple. And once they control that, it's just like they're going after your gun rights as well. And when they control that, if they could take all your guns away, what do you think is going to happen? They totally control you then, because you have no way to resist. Amen to that. All right, I see my time's ran out. If you know me, I could go for a lot longer. But anyway, thank you. God bless. God bless. We're going to win this battle. God's on our side.
Bob Songer. Thank you, Bob. A gentleman I'm just getting to meet now is Bill Mitchell, who's a CSPOA rep from Florida. You can tell by the... we have rust, you have tans. Anyway, go get him, Bill. Good to meet you.
Thanks very much. How y'all doing? All right. Well, it's an honor to be here to speak to you. You guys are wonderful to come out on a cold evening to come listen to this. And so I hope not to disappoint and give you some information that maybe you didn't have before. So I'm going to start with, Sheriff Mack asked me to come out here and talk to you a little bit about what we're doing out in Florida about constitutional counties, and specifically the constitutional county ordinance that we're working with down there. Because, by the way, how many of you during COVID were aware that maybe your constitutional rights were violated? Anybody? Whoa, everybody, gosh, whoa, okay, you're an intelligent group. Well, let me tell you, I got to tell you a little story about how I got involved with this, okay? Because what happened was I was living in Arizona in Lake Havasu City when COVID broke out and all the shutdowns happened. And I happened to have a couple friends of mine say, hey, Bill, would you come to the city council meeting tonight? Because, we know you're not doing any of this stuff and all that, and we really want, you to be there and kind of support us. You don't need to say anything, but just come support us. Be there at the meeting, because we're going to be talking to the city council about this. And I said, well, great, I'll go. Good to sit down and listen. So I was sitting there listening to them, and they were going on about how the masks didn't work, or how can COVID know which table is not, going to have any sort of people at that so that they can all congregate on that surface, not someplace else, right? And so they were going through all these things, and I was listening to their arguments, and I was thinking, there's something seriously wrong here. They're not addressing the constitutional issue. So at the end of the meeting, when they said, well, does anybody else have anything to say? I said, well, I do. And they said, well, what do you got to say? I said, well, you're missing the fact that this is a constitutional issue and that they're violating our constitutional rights here. And I said, if we can create cities that are sanctuaries for illegal aliens, by God, we can create a city that's a sanctuary for the Constitution, don't you think? That's exactly what they said. The whole room applauded and everybody was thinking, and I said, well, you know what? I'm going to come back in 2 weeks, the next meeting, it'll all be taken care of. Yeah, that's right, you should laugh. Because it was a joke, because nothing changed the following week. So, what I did at that point, we started an organization, we started working really hard for the next year to put in place what we called Resolution 1776, which was a resolution that basically held the county accountable and the people for the Constitution. We finally got that passed. Now, what I didn't know is at the same time we were doing that in Arizona, in Florida, the same thing was happening. In fact, Flagler County in Florida was the first county in Florida, and almost exactly the same time as we passed it, they did as well. However, there was another county, Collier County, and Chris Hall, who basically created the gold standard for the constitutional county by hiring a constitutional attorney to, instead of writing it as a resolution, to write it as an ordinance. Because an ordinance has teeth. For instance, if somebody violates the Constitution, well, I'll give you an example. When I was in Lake Havasu, we would try to hold the city manager and the mayor accountable for the fact that they were violating our rights. So we went to the county sheriff and said, actually, no, we started with the DA, actually. And we got the meeting with the assistant DA, and he said, we see your depositions, we see all the facts you've got here. You might have a really good case. We'll call you next week and tell you what we're going to do about that. We're going to call next week. Guess what he said? This is not a matter for the county. This is something you're going to have to take to the Attorney General of the state. Okay, would you give us a letter in writing that said something like that? No. Oh, okay. Well, we took it to the Attorney General. Guess what the Attorney General said? It's a matter for the FBI. You getting the idea? It was a runaround. Well, we finally got, like I say, that passed. And in Florida, what happened was Chris Hall, who was, he'd gone down there to retire very much like I did when I went to Florida. And he basically pushed through this constitutional county ordinance that was written by a constitutional attorney and is the gold standard for how do you protect your county against COVID-like things. Because, by the way, has your county or anybody in your state done anything to protect you from that type of lockdown happening again? Yeah, that's right. No, they haven't. That's exactly right. So what you need to do is know that at a county level, you can put the things in place that can protect you, not just against COVID, but things like election integrity. One of the things we found out in Florida when we were working with the supervisors of elections, that you call them auditors here, we were working with the supervisors of elections to find out how could we deal with election tampering and fraud that takes place in a lot of counties. Well, what we found out is that the supervisors of elections and auditors have to submit an election security plan to the Secretary of State to have it approved. They can put whatever they want in that plan, okay? So they can put in all the things that we were trying to get legislations to take care of, to be put in at a county level. So there's a lot of ways as a county that you can protect yourselves, and that's what my whole goal is to make people aware of what they can do at a county level and empower them, the county commissions, the sheriffs, supervisors of elections, the judiciary, have them all working together to create the pillars of a constitutional county. And so if you have any desire to have your county be a constitutional county, please give me a call, get my information later, because we'd be happy to come up and help you do that. Thank you all for coming out, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Bill Mitchell. We got some powerhouses up here. I'm hoping you out-of-towners got to see Mount Rainier in its full glory today for a few minutes. Up next is Patrick Byrne. And Patrick's an entrepreneur, a civic activist recognized for his work on election integrity, free markets, and constitutional governance. Come on up, Patrick.
Hey, sir.
Love the shirt. I love the shirt.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And Pastor Dennis. Free Tina Peters, that's right. Ladies and gentlemen of the Experienced Church, General Flynn, if he's here, Sheriff Bushman, who is such an extraordinary American. What an honor. Sheriff Mack and Sheriff Bushman, Sheriff Sam, Sheriff Mack, Sheriff, anyone whose first name is Sheriff counts as. What a great honor it is to speak to you. I'm still a surprise to me. I get asked to come to these, and I don't know why anyone would hear what I have to say. I do have a couple interesting life experiences that I might share with you. I spent in the early 80s, I spent a year living in China when they first opened up. I was there 6 years after the Cultural Revolution ended. So I know what's coming for you. I've seen totalitarianism, and it's crazy that Americans don't seem to understand what's coming for you. It's not a long way off. It's right here. In fact, I'd say it grazed the cheek of this republic just like the bullet that grazed the cheek of Donald Trump. We came so close. And it comes on many fronts. It comes on many fronts. That's the nature of it's kind of warfare that Americans are really not comfortable with or understand, because it's not a warfare that involves tanks and planes and such. It's a warfare that Chinese mastered over 2,500 years, that the greatest victory is to win without fighting. They're masters of it. And to be honest, for about 25 years, there was talk within Chinese national security circles of an upcoming assassin's mace, an assassin's club, and which is a reference to an old Chinese story about two kings were about to fight. Their kingdoms were about to fight, but one got an assassin into the chambers of the other and killed him. And by doing that, that one strike ends the war before it starts. And that term, the assassin's club, the assassin's mace, in Chinese has the combination of two senses for us. One is like a sucker punch, a punch before what the other guy doesn't see coming, and a knockout blow. So imagine if we had a phrase that meant a sucker punch, knockout blow. They have a phrase that means that. They've been using that for 20 years, talking about there's something like that coming for the United States. I think you just lived through it. I think we just lived through it. It didn't work. We were never supposed to get off the floor from what happened 5 years ago. We were never supposed to pick ourselves up. I think we got, to be honest, as far as I'm concerned, this country got lucky because of General Mike Flynn. I think that we were out. I think the country was reeling. Mike knows all this stuff. It's funny. Everything Michael knows, because the military has broken down to a science, all of this stuff. I knew it because I was a student over there, and I came back with a deep hatred, just an absolute hatred for everything communist. I love the Chinese. I came to just hate the communists. I hate the philosophers of. I spent a few years in the hospital with cancer. I had nothing better to do, so I did a PhD in philosophy, and I ended up studying kind of the intellectual history of the West up to our Constitution, and at the same time, understanding what was going wrong in the universities in America. I really spent my 20s kind of as an invalid, so that's what I did. I thought my plans were to go in the Army, but they didn't take me, so I became a philosopher. I feel like, and I don't want to sound like a fanatic, but I feel like I see exactly what's going on, and I feel like it's It's like a bad nightmare to spend the last 5 years trying to wake Americans up. So one way to view what's going on is something called a PSYOP, an information operation. What the militaries around the world have learned that you can run people, you can win battles without firing a shot if what you do is you confuse an enemy population and you get them doing the things you want them to do. They do your work for you. And in particular, there's a way to overthrow a country without firing a shot. It's called a Bezmenov PSYOP, and it comes in 4 stages. And tell me if this sounds familiar. Stage 1 is a demoralization or a weakening of a target population. Stage 2 is disorienting them, inverting all their values. Anything they consider sacred, you say is trash, and things they say is trash, you say is great. It's all about turning their world upside down so things don't make any sense. So and then stage 3 is you shove a crisis down their throat. And then you've created this psychotic reality for them, for a population where nothing makes sense, they're weak, nothing makes sense. You've shoved this crisis down their throat, and it's like a psychotic reality. And every human who's experienced that, and I think all of you in this room who lived through the last 5 years did, you know there's this great human desire to get back to normalcy, to get everything to be normal. And what they tell you is, and so the 4th phase is normalization. It's to say you have to just accept as normal everything that just happened and accept you're in a new world. And of course, as I'm sure you've picked up, in our last 5 years, phase 1 of all this was the COVID drama. I assume I'm in a room where people have I used to have to show people the statistics on first of all, that there were lots of treatments that were preliminary treatments that worked that they suppressed. Secondly, the vaxxes turned out not to be such a good idea. Follow your own doctor's advice, but if anyone's still telling you to take this vaccine, I mean, the data is so overwhelming. The second stage for us was Antifa and BLM. That was all just to confuse you. The 6 city blocks that they take out and call Chaz. I happened to be in October 2020 down in D.C. in front of the FBI when a group of motorcyclists came out all dressed in black gear, and they took over the street in front of ostensibly the world's greatest law enforcement organization. And they were just popping wheelies and burning out and everything. For about 10 minutes, nobody touches them, and they drove off. Again, that was all to disorient you. Even the things like the CNN reporter walking in front of burning buildings and cars and saying, mostly peaceful, mostly peaceful. Okay, they know that's crazy. That was kind of infuriating, right? That was like, that's deliberate. That's all to get you upside down. You don't know what you thought everybody agrees that this is good and this is bad, but they're showing you something different. Then there was the fake election. And then there was the normalization period, was the whole cancel culture we experienced. I'm going to give you I'm going to tell you the solution to this, the ultimate solution to this. And then I'm going to save my last 90 seconds or more to tell you what the news is breaking, so you can understand what's going on behind the news. The greatest solution to this, the long-term solution to this, or let's say the final solution to this, is your sheriffs have to be elected by you, the people. And by the way, I think it is through a fluke. I think it's through the education of General Flynn that we beat this, we jujitsu'd out of this tyranny this time. We are really lucky. Now that it's over, I'll tell you that Flynn and I, we spoke in January 2021, and he said it's maybe 5% our country gets through this. He never thought we were going to make it to this last election. The tyranny is right at the door. It didn't go away. The same people who did that are still among you. I just looked up the statistics today. Just so you know, after World War II, there was a convention called Nuremberg where they said, the whole world agreed on one thing, that we're never going to have forced medical experiments again. And if you read the first, it's just fits on a page, and it's quite short to read. And if you just read the first point, it says there's not going to be forced participation in a medical experiment. And by force, we mean any duress, deceit, any coercion, anything counts as force. We're never going to have a forced medical experiment again. Well, the whole world agreed to that. And then the whole world just violated the Nuremberg Code, because there was a massive pressure on, you can go look this up tonight, what the Nuremberg Code says is the first principle. You'd think that there could never be any debate about what just happened to us, but it just happened to us again. The people who did that, and when that happened, let me remind you, I don't want to name any particular political parties, I don't want to be partisan, but there is a political party in America that thought 52% of them agreed during that if you didn't take COVID, you could be arrested and confined, would be okay. And 56% agreed that if you didn't give your COVID shots to your kids, they could be taken away, and so on and so forth. There was one party where over 50% of the people thought that's okay. Seems odd. It's hard to me. We're living in America, and we're waking up and discovering there's this whole class of people around us who believe in tyranny, who've completely forgotten the basic principles. And by the way, they're still out there. They're still out there scheming. And one of the big things they have to take away from you is your sheriffs. Because ultimately the sheriff's job, the American way of viewing government is not some overarching entity in the sky. Government's just this agent that we created. Just like, there were some things we couldn't do ourselves, so we created a list, and we couldn't have our states do them. So we created a list of things we would have this new corporation do that we were just creating. It's just a new company. It's like we created a plumbing company, and we created this new company called the federal government, and the list is Article 1, Section 8. It's the only things it's allowed to do. Well, there's tyrants among us who have never been happy with this solution. They want to overthrow it. Now, they think they have good reasons for overthrowing it. Some of them are just terrible, horrible people. Some of them are social justice warriors. And social justice warriors have big plans for how they think they could redesign the world. And to them, the Constitution is a set of handcuffs that prevents them from doing all these big, good things they want to do. So not all of them are evil. Some of them are just deluded. But a fair bit of them are evil. They're just evil, tyrannical people. And we've seen that in our neighbors in the last 5 years. And just remember, they're still there. We got lucky, and they're still scheming. So anyone want to know? Emerald Robinson is breaking a truth. She's the only one who has this truth. But for the last 18 months, she's been riding shotgun with a group of other players and myself. General Flynn was kind of the Gandalf, if you know the Lord of the Rings story. He was kind of our advisor, but we hobbits were out having our mission. And our mission was we hacked the government of Venezuela to steal the secrets of how they steal elections. And we did so both electronically and by getting defectors. And when their election came last July 28th of 2024, they normally, how they've been staying in power for 25 years is the dictator gets 2 million votes, the people against them get 7 million votes, they stuff 5.5 million votes, 7.5 beat 7, and they win again, over and over and over. We broke the machine that lets them do that, which is why they had such a tangled election. And we also, and this is just starting to leak out there, we know how they cheat in elections. There's 14, I've been living with Venezuelans who built this system for the last 2 years. There's 14 ways of cheating on the ground, And there's a 15th way from over in Serbia. And they cheat all they need to on the ground to get what they want as close as possible. And then the 15th way, they jam through the rest from Serbia. We disrupted, or that process was disrupted, the last election, November 5th of 2024. It was a lucky uppercut. I think the padlock was going on our dungeon door. We were never supposed to get out once Kamala was installed. And we got out by a lucky fluke. It's not going to happen again. We're going to only beat it if we keep up the election integrity work, and we're able to and because what we've learned is all the normal mechanisms for digging into bad elections. We learned in the last 5 years, all the courts will stop you and the tyrants will stop you, that the sheriffs have such a key role in stopping it. So keep your sheriffs. Thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you, sir.
Patrick Byrne.
Good to see you again.
Notice how tall some of these guys are. Next up, we have Mr. C.L. Bryant, a nationally syndicated radio host and commentator addressing faith, culture, and American constitutional values. And I should mention our out-of-town guys get a little more time to speak. So come on up, Mr. Bryant. Let me get a shake. God bless you, brother.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. Glad to be here with you. And I want to thank Pastor and First Lady for having us here tonight. And I want to thank my wife for joining me here. We've flown here from Florida, Port St. Lucie, Florida, to be with you. And we love this place. Sheriff Mack was talking about God, family, and country in the green room before we came out. And you should know that embodies, sheriffs embody those words, God, family, and country. Over the last 25, 30 years, I've done all of that I can to work closely with people who believe in that. I've served on 2 of President Trump's advisory boards. I'm a filmmaker, and of course, I served for 15 years as senior fellow with Freedom Works, and Freedom Works was the largest grassroots organization in the nation. And we boasted 6 million activists around this country. My job was to build, educate, and motivate those 6 million, and I think I shook hands with just about every one of them. Now, Annie and I were married at Mar-a-Lago about 3 years ago, so I'm a Trump supporter. You guys should know that. And how many of you believe and know that America is the greatest nation on the face of the planet, the greatest success story the world has ever known? But friends, we run a risk of losing our nation. And if America goes away, the question is, and it came to me from an Eastern Bloc refugee down in Bend, Oregon, several years ago. When I spoke there, he came to me after I spoke, and he said, CL, if America goes away, where do people go? And Americans, you need to understand that if America goes away, where do we go? What do we do? What do our children do? What we're wrestling with right now is perhaps the loss of a birthright. A birthright that was bought and paid for with blood. My father was a World War II veteran. My grandfather, a World War I veteran. My great-grandfather fought in the Spanish-American War. This is my country, and I will be loathed if anyone takes this nation away from me without a fight. We must stand and we must fight. My friends, while you sleep peacefully at night in your homes, while our children sleep peacefully in their bedrooms at night in our homes, there are faithful men and women like our peace officers and our sheriffs around this nation, who are out on those dangerous streets, and they are dangerous now. We live in perilous times, as Peter told us we would. And these perilous times we're protected from because of those men and women who stand on the front line. As we sang our national anthem tonight, you need to understand that at the close of that national anthem, there is a question. And that question that Francis Scott Key put in that national anthem was to all of us who would come after him, and to all of us who would inherit this great American birthright. The question was, oh say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Look around you, Americans. See what is going on in places like Minnesota. Look at what's going on there. And the question still has to be, how long will a nation so conceived as ours, as Lincoln asked in Gettysburg, how long could a nation so conceived and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal, how long can a nation so conceived endure? My friends, I pray that after this 250th anniversary of America, that 250 years from now, our great-great-grandchildren will be able to look back from where they came and say that my grandparents, my parents, they stood up for this nation, and the flag of this nation still waves over the land of the free and the home of the brave. That's how long our nation must endure. My friends, it is important now that men and women of courage find that courage, stand on that courage, and don't be cowed down by anyone who would want to push us off of who we are. You need to stand up now and be counted. You need to stand up now and be brave. I knew Charlie Kirk when he was 18 years old. When I was working with Freedom Works, he came to us with an idea to go to college campuses. I was with Freedom Works for over 15 years as their senior fellow. And we said, that's a great idea, Charlie. We basically patted him on the head, sent him on his way. Charlie was looking for us that day. 2 years later, we were looking for Charlie. I had gotten out of this game, and Sam Bushman called me and said, hey, we'd like to have you on Loving Liberty as one of our radio hosts. And you can still hear the show on Loving Liberty. And Sam talked me into doing it, he and Kathy Smith. I had to get back into this game after they killed Charlie. I had to do it. I couldn't sit down any longer, regardless of what the risk was. And Lord knows, it is a great peril. Many times, I've spoken all around this country and all around the world. Many times, I've shaken unfriendly hands, and of course, serving on the president's two of his advisory boards, we've had a chance to be in close with him. I was in the green room, and one of the gentlemen asked me, are you C.L. Bryant? I said, yeah. He says, you lost a lot of weight and a lot of hair, too. Didn't recognize me. But we shake unfriendly hands. And friends, where I come from, Shreveport, Louisiana is where I was born. Raised with my grandparents in the summertime. I went down there on a farm in Grand Cane. And the old man down there, my grandfather, was a great old guy, but he couldn't read his name if You wrote it in the sky. My father only had a third-grade education, and I doubt my great-grandfather could have read it all. But they instilled in me the fortitude to stand up for what is right, to work hard for whatever you got, and to be honest. My grandmother told me that, son, we don't have a lot of money. We do have land, but you can't eat the land. Don't sell it. And I held on to it. My whole point in saying that is this. All of us come from people whose shoulders we stand on. Let us not let them down. Let us move forward with grace, dignity, and courage as Americans, and let's preserve the American heritage for our young people. But as I travel across this country again to speak to groups just like you and large crowds, small crowds, all across this nation, Pastor and First Lady, I want you to know that it's always important that there are people like you somewhere praying for people like DJT and President Trump, Donald John Trump, and it's always good to know that there's people like you who are praying for people like Pastor Cummings and his wife who stand on the front line, and all of these sheriffs who are there to protect our rights. And so we must stand and protect them, because if we turn the sheriff's job over to a committee, friends, surely that is something that will not end well for us as American citizens. So the question that I have for you tonight as I leave you, because there are others that need to come and speak to you, but the question that I have for you here in Washington tonight is a question that I've asked many thousands, perhaps over millions of people throughout the world. But Americans, that question for you tonight is this: are there any patriots left in Washington, D.C., in Washington State? Is there anybody here who will stand up for God and country, who will stand up for America, who will stand up for the principles of these sheriffs? Then Americans, stand up, stand up, stand up. God bless you. God bless America.
Mr. Bryant, God bless you, sir. Wow. Man, yeah. Was that worth coming out on a Friday night right there? All right. Mark Fincham serves in the Arizona State Senate and is a leading advocate for election integrity. Apparently he knows he's aware of a lot of election fraud. Have we heard of that lately? Come on out, Mark Fincham. God bless you, brother.
Thank you, man. Oh, how many of you have heard the term election denier? Yeah. Well, my good friend and fellow board member on the Election Fairness Institute, Seth Keschel, he says, no, we're fraud affirmers. And we got the receipts. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's so nice to have such a warm welcome. And I would be remiss if I did not call out all the folks who welcomed us at the, as we pulled up in the Uber, all 75 of them. And I don't think they understood that this organization exists to protect their right to do what they were doing. And here's the Here's the scary thing. This state wants to, not this state, let me rephrase that. There are elements within this state that want to undo the established order. They want to undo the protection of a sheriff that is responsive to you and not a special interest. You see, the difference between municipal police chiefs and elected sheriffs, typically in a county, Yavapai County, where I have the best sheriff on the planet, with all due respect to other sheriffs, my sheriff represents the interests of 275,000 people. And I can tell you right now, if I were to call David Rhodes on my cell phone, he would answer the phone. Tell me a chief of police that would do that. I don't know of one. So, the whole idea of the established order, there's a reason that our framers constructed things the way they did. And anytime you have folks that want to change things, I would urge you, ask the question. In fact, my mom taught me the most controversial word in the English language. I'm sorry, what'd you say? Why? Because it holds people accountable in less than a breath. So this evening, you've heard stories, quite frankly, about electronic warfare. We are fighting a Marxist insurgency. And I'm sure that General Flynn is probably going to at least allude to that. I don't want to put words in his mouth. But I have heard the man speak so many times that I kind of know where his mind is at. Warfare is the failure of diplomacy. And right now, you're in the warfare lead up, okay? When I say warfare, I'm not talking about kinetic. I'm not talking about shooting at people. It's a war of words, a war of ideas. And I don't believe that Washington State is gone. At least I've traveled to the eastern part of the state where they want to be part of Idaho. By the way, I thought one of the funniest memes, ladies, close your eyes for a second. One of the funniest memes was the map that looked like that with Idaho and Washington State. Yeah. And you know what scared the people in your state capital? They had the votes to do it. In fact, they even favored it until they realized, wait a minute, there's a lot of money that goes with that. Typical politicians, yeah. So, speaking of politicians, don't ever trust a politician with a microphone. So, I actually have a timer that I have to live by because Sheriff Mack is going to kick me off the stage here in a minute. But I want to talk for a moment. I want to give you a couple of real-world examples. One of them is the importance of a sheriff in Greenlee County, Arizona. Happen to have a constituent, because once you're elected as a state senator, everybody in the state of Arizona is your constituent. Partly because there are some senators that have a reputation for doing things and some who don't. When the U.S. Forest Service decided that they wanted to interfere with a grazing permit, a certain rancher called me and he said, hey, they're going to take my cows and they want to arrest me and they want to put a chain across my RS 2477 right of way, which, by the way, in Arizona, you're going to get arrested for that. It's blockage of a road that has existed since before 1975 by the Forest Service. Well, it just so happens that he called his sheriff, and his sheriff notified the Forest Service, if you persist in this, I will not only arrest you, but I will seize your truck. And you do know the penalty for cattle rustling, right? And he was serious. Amazingly, the Forest Service has not bothered this man for 6 months now. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of an elected sheriff. So for the clowns in your state capital who want to consolidate power, think about this for a second. I'm going to get on my rant about Democrats. I know this is not supposed to be partisan, but what is the thing that... and I only got 8 minutes to do it. So there's this issue with names. It was a fight between Hamilton and Jefferson. Hamilton wanted a democracy, which is two wolves and a sheep negotiating over lunch. And Mr. Jefferson wanted a republic, where you had somebody to run interference when the passions of the people kind of conflicted with each other. Of course, Aaron Burr won that one, but some of you will get that next week. The issue that we've got is that the Democratic, they don't like it being called Democrats, Democratic Party. The least democratic thing they do is deprive people from having an election to vote on whether they will have an elected sheriff. Now, for their part, the Republicans are always accused of voter suppression. Do you get the irony there? Okay. So there's a gentleman that I would like to introduce to you. I am proud to say he is a colleague. He is our chief researcher for the Election Fairness Institute. So I wear two hats. One is state senator, and the other is the executive director of a 501c3 called the Election Fairness Institute. How many of you saw the tweet that the president put out? I want the Department of Justice to prosecute the people behind Act Blue for money laundering. Show of hands. Okay. Well, I don't think it's too much of a stretch for me to tell you that came out of our work product. And I am proud to introduce you to Deputy Chief, former, Sean Taylor of the Millersville PD. Mr. Taylor? So let me tell you what Mr. Taylor has done, without getting into too much detail, because the Department of Justice has a great deal of interest in most of what we've turned over to them. But he's been able to map the connections between people, money, places, and time. That, in the law enforcement world, is what we call a fact pattern. How many lawyers in the room? Okay. Well, I'm not going to say what's 1,000 lawyers at the bottom of the sea. You probably heard that already. A good start. Okay. You know, one of the things that, and I'm going to turn this over to Sean in just a moment to close us out, but, you know, Mr. Steve Bannon has said something a couple of times that really, and yes, I've appeared with Mr. Bannon a time or two, but, you know, there are times when nothing seems to happen over months, and there are days when years happen. I know that patience is wearing thin, but coming from the law enforcement community, I think I'm safe in saying I think you'd rather have us get it right than get it fast. Because fast often fails. I'll call out the 2 indictments Letitia James and James Comey got done fast. Now, the saving grace is, and I'm glad that our good friend Dan Bongino called this out, don't spike the football yet. We got 6 months. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sean Taylor.
Thank you. Thank you. 2 minutes. Explain 50 years of socialism, all right? Basically, what I want to bring to everybody's attention is this group and our Constitution is the thing that these people hate the most. And what's happened is these socialists have basically come into these different positions within our government, and they go into these key positions that are controlling the flow of information. He who controls the flow of information controls the game. It's time for us to set up a new battlefield, and we're going to take the fight to them. Okay? But to be able to do that, we have to have a cultural shift within our law enforcement community and give our law enforcement the authority, which means we have to take out the corruption at the lower levels, the municipal level, the county level, and the state level, to be able to start the accountability. We have to give those deputies and those officers on the street the ability to go after the corruption in your municipalities and your counties, and we got to give them the tools to be able to make that happen. Because I can promise you one thing, as soon as they start doing that, your municipalities and your counties, your state government's going to come in, and they're going to try to take over the investigation. But you know what? They can't do that with a constitutional sheriff because it's constitutionally elected office. So he can tell the state goodbye. We can't expect the federal government and the DOJ to do the heavy lifting here. We have to help ourselves. We have to police ourselves and bring the accountability, and then we get the assistance from the guys at the DOJ if we need it. That's what we need, is we need a cultural shift, and this is where it starts, right here with the constitutional sheriffs.
So if you want to follow the work that we're doing, just take down goefi.org. That's go, don't stop, go, efi.org. We quite regularly will put information out there so that folks can follow us. We're a 501c3. We do not accept any government money because elections belong to the people. They don't belong to the government. Thank you very much.
We're going to go right to a video. Thank you, guys.
Police academies all across this country never address the oath of office. Yet every single cop has to swear an oath of allegiance to the Constitution. Why don't we examine what the role of law enforcement, of sheriffs, of chiefs of police, what is our role in the protection of the American Republic, of our constitutional republic? The ultimate goal of all three branches of government, and we're the executive branch, we're the executors of the law, is to protect liberty. And if we have to do that against the FBI or the IRS or the EPA or the CDC or the USDA, then that's our job. Sheriffs, let's do our duty and protect the people from all enemies, both foreign and domestic, as we've promised to do, and save our country. We have the power. If the sheriffs of this country will just unite and be unified in keeping their oath of office and defending the American people against oppression and abuse of government, we could take back our country tomorrow.
Well, I guess I could just say amen to that guy and sit down. That guy knows what he's talking about. He reminds me of me. Yeah. I was going to say ladies and gentlemen. I want to say brothers and sisters. My heart goes out to you, Pastor. Thanks so much for having the courage to have us here. You and your family and everybody's just been so wonderful, and thank you so very much. I haven't known you very long, but I'm proud to call you friend. And speaking of that, my dear friends, the other speakers before me have been fantastic, and you're going to hear from some great ones after me. Sheriff Swank and General Flynn. Ooh. Excellent, excellent, excellent speakers and people. I have to tell you, though, nobody said it yet today. Today is National Law Enforcement Day. And so I want you to stand and be recognized if you've ever been in law enforcement or the military. Those are the two defenses of liberty, and I want all of you to stand up. Law enforcement, Sheriff Songer, military. Jim, when you get a chance, go get your mother and bring her up here. You take her through the green room. And my son is here. This is my son, Jimmy. And he's going to get my wife up here, and she ain't going to like that. She likes to be the woman behind the scenes, and she's been amazing. And before she gets up here, so I don't cry when she gets up here, I have to tell you that 2025 was our 50th wedding anniversary. So, thank you. And I have to tell you a quick story about her while we're waiting for her to get up here. I've shared this with my good friend Josiah, who came all the way from North Dakota to be here today. Thank you, Josiah. And, I don't know if you know this, but the only reason I'm standing before you today is because when I was sheriff of Graham County, Arizona, that's southeast Arizona, the fourth smallest county in Arizona, but there's only 15 counties, so it's pretty easy to do. I sued the federal government, and not only that, it was the Clintons. I know. So there's two things about that. I sued the Clintons, and I lived to tell about it. Now, let's get over here. I had to stand to the side because she's too short. The podium's too tall for her. But so I did a crazy thing, and I thought, surely she's going to absolutely knock me for a loop when I tell her, when I got home from Phoenix for the Sheriff's Association meeting, and I told the other sheriffs in Arizona, I'm not doing the Brady bill. I'm not going along with the federal government. And the federal government can't tell me what to do, and your state government can't tell me what to do. And anyway, I'm not doing it. So I was at meetings for a day and a half, and I came home, and there she was, and this is January 22nd, 1994. And I told her, I just busted out with it. She came up to hug me, and I didn't even hug her. I just busted out. I'm going to sue the federal government. I'm going to sue the Clintons. It's going to cost us everything. And what do you think? And folks, let me tell you, I was shocked with her response, which was,
I flopped back on the bed and said, oh my gosh, is this why you were meant to be sheriff?
And the reason she said that is because we talked about it a lot, because it was such a miracle that I got elected. It was my hometown, but I hadn't lived there for 12 years. And I'd never served in government or law enforcement in the state of Arizona. I started in Provo, Utah.
You know the place where Charlie Kirk was murdered? That was Utah County, and in fact, our daughter graduated from that college. And then we both received an epiphany and a kick in the butt from her mom to move home and run for sheriff. And neither one of us wanted to. But let me tell you, when she totally supported that, this crazy Don Quixote crusade, I was so touched, and I knew that it had been blessed not only by her, but by the Lord. And we've dedicated our lives to that together. And that was 33 years ago. Okay, how many, you mathematicians? 1994, what was that? How many years ago? 72 years ago? You're not one of the mathematicians I was talking about. Okay, 32 years ago, is that right? 32? Okay, all right. So 32 years ago, and the miracles have just kept happening since then. And the greatest miracle was the day she told me yes, she would. And I love you, and thanks. Make sure. So, real quickly, I'm going to bring somebody out, and then he's just going to leave because I just got to tell you this really quick. Out on my table, right outside the door there, I've written 7 or 8 books, and I think I have 4 or 5 of them out on the table. But this is the most important one. There's no more important book on the face of the planet except the Bible and the Pocket Constitution. And then you should have this, a review of this Supreme Court case. It will absolutely blow you away what the Supreme Court said in this decision. It was such a miracle. And I want to make sure that you take it home with you tonight and that you share it with other people and especially other public officials, because this will blow you away. Guess what? In this book, Scalia wrote the decision. And in the beginning of it, he introduces the case. And guess what he calls the sheriffs who did this case? The Cleos. It's in there. It's documented. The chief law enforcement officer. It's not your AG. It is not your county commissioners. He doesn't report to them. He reports to you. And I would try to remind the Attorney General of this state. It is not against the law, and it is not improper for the sheriffs of this state to try to get pedophiles, human traffickers, sexual exploitation of children, international terrorists, and cartels out of their state. So, come on out. So I want to introduce you to another sponsor of this meeting. It's the APOA, and the executive director of the APOA is right here, Daniel Stebbs, and we're joining forces. And he's going to tell you why we're doing that real quick.
Thank you, Sheriff Mack. He said, I'm Daniel Stibbs, Executive Director of the American Police Officers Alliance, and we've been working with Cspoa for about 4 years now. Yeah, and we are looking to continue this partnership going forward through 2026 and the foreseeable future. And that is why we are creating a special project to help elect and defend constitutional sheriffs, because arguably they are the most important elected official in your county. They are the ones who can protect you from the executive overreaches of the federal government, the state government, and in certain cases, your local county governments. So, we'll
appreciate you. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. Daniel Stebbs with APOA, American Police Officer Alliance. Thank you. And so before I bring out one of our best constitutional sheriffs in the country, and it's not Dave Rhodes from Yavapai County, Prescott, like Senator Fincham said, I know Dave Rhodes, and he's right. He's a dang good sheriff. We've got several of them in the country. What the problem is, we don't have enough. And we need funding. Okay? We need funding. We need all of you to become members of the CSPOA. Do you know how many times I've asked a sheriff in this country to be a member of the CSPOA? 0. But I ask their constituents always. And I want you to be able to talk to your sheriffs and go to them and say, I'm a member of the CSPOA posse, and I want to know if you're a constitutional sheriff, because it's vital to the cause of liberty. And you have to be on board with that. Okay? And so when you leave here, please leave your offerings and alms at our desk. And then also, just so you know, General Flynn and I will be taking pictures up here afterwards, and it's $50 a person. Okay? Not kidding, because we haven't paid for this event yet. And so General Flynn accepted my offer to do that because he knows we need to help raise some money tonight. And I so think he's been such a good friend, and we've shared the stage numerous times across America. And he's become a good friend because we're brothers in the cause of liberty. So real quickly, I want you to hear from Sheriff Kendrick from Hawaii County, Idaho. Say, Sheriff.
Thank you. Just real quick, I only have to talk for a minute, so. What this meeting is about, and you folks in Washington, you're the battleground for the country on this. They left some wording in state law so they can bring this back, eliminate your sheriff, make it an appointed position. So, when I swear in a deputy in my county, I tell them when they put this on, this makes you a servant. And it does. We are all subject to the governing authority of the United States, which is the Constitution, which makes me a constitutional sheriff. But so is every other politician. And if you are not in line and subject to the Constitution, you are in rebellion with God and against this country. So this can stand for servanthood, which I am. I'm a servant to the people who put me in the place that I'm in. Or it can stand for an overlord. And which would you rather have? A boot on your neck, or someone who's going to be there to protect your rights? Thank you.
So some of the national press and national mainstream press have attacked me immensely, to say the least. And they always say I pick and choose. Is your state and is your Attorney General enforcing this ruling? Not even close. But you can see, go through this and you'll see. Where did I get the idea that sheriffs were the chief law enforcement officer? From the United States Supreme Court. Mac Prince. Prince was the other sheriff from Montana that went with me on this case. Where did I get the idea that sheriffs are supposed to stand against tyranny? From this case. And Scalia actually quotes the Federalist Papers. And in Federalist 51, he says this, quote, hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people, end quote. Now, I need to ask you, how does that happen? How does a double security arise to the rights of the people? He finishes and says, quote, the different governments will control each other, end quote. Sheriffs, it's our job to control those who want to destroy our Constitution and our God-given American Republic. That's our job. Now, is it any wonder they want to get rid of the office? And has your Has your governor and AG ever heard this? Let's see, Abraham Lincoln. That government by the people, for the people, of the people, shall not perish from the earth. And that's exactly what they're trying to do right here in the state of Washington. They're getting rid of that. And then finally, this is amazing. You won't believe what's in this book. The case was absolutely miraculous. But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. It divides power among sovereigns and among branches of government, precisely so that we may resist the temptation to concentrate power in one location as an expedient solution to the crisis of the day. The crisis that they create and bring it to us after they scare us to death, COVID-19 mandates, and we go along with them and say, please vaccinate me, please vax me, please take care of me, please take care of my kids. And we fall for it every time. No more. And the sheriff will be caught standing there defending us. And I will close with the founding fathers. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. We must do likewise. Thank you.
God bless you, brother, Sheriff Mack. Sheriff Mack. Friends, Sheriff Keith Swank is the elected sheriff of Pierce County. Yeah, he's a great one. He's a great one. Keith brings over 3 decades of law enforcement experience and a steadfast commitment to conservative values, public safety, the rule of law, and support for officers on the front lines. A U.S. Army veteran, a former Seattle police captain, he has led SWAT, K-9, Harbor Patrol, and bomb arson units, specializing in crisis intervention and de-escalation. Despite facing persistent media attacks, Sheriff Swank remains unflappable and unwavering in his dedication to restoring law and order. Come on up, Sheriff Swank. He's become a good friend of mine.
Thank you. I've been working on my escalation tactics lately. You can see that if you follow me on X, which is at Swank, the number 4 America. You'll keep up to date on what's going on. Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Keith Swank. I am the 48th I'm the 48th sheriff of Pierce County. And I'm the first sheriff of Pierce County ever to be elected from outside of the office. Thank you. And the reason why that's important is because when I ran for sheriff, almost every politician in Pierce County was against me. They didn't want me to win because they wanted to keep things status quo. However, Senator Jim McEwen supported me from the very beginning. As a matter of fact, he's been telling me for years, Keith, you need to run for sheriff. Keith, you need to run for sheriff. And I told him, I don't want to run for sheriff. When I'm done being a cop, I want to be done being a cop. And I ran for Congress a few times. He said, sheriff is where you should go. And ultimately, I ran for sheriff and was elected in 2024. Thank you very much. I am very proud to be the sheriff of the 59th largest county in America, representing almost 1 million people. And 10% of the state of Washington. I am very proud of that, and thank you all very much for putting me here. It's a big responsibility to be the sheriff of Pierce County because I'm not the chief of police. Other sheriffs were, well, they weren't even the chief of police. They just were there. But it's a big deal. People who don't like me say things like, Sheriff, you should just be doing law enforcement. That's it. And I tell them, no, no, no. And I know many of you in here voted for me because you want me to stand up for your rights. And I tell them I stand up for their rights and for the Constitution. And yes, along the way we put bad guys in jail, but most people in the county aren't bad people. They're really good people. And I need to defend their rights for them to be able to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that's what I stand for. The attack against me, because it was me, because I had no problems with sheriff before, began right after I was elected when the county council passed legislation, maybe meaning well, but I'm not sure. Maybe they didn't think it through, but where they said that I had to have permission from the county council in order to select my command staff. Well, it was a big deal because they told me that. So I went to the prosecuting attorney, who is my legal advisor by statute, and I said to her, this is what's going on, and they have no right to do that. And she said, oh, yes, they do. And her chief legal advisor said, oh, yes, they do, Sheriff. They have the right to do that. They can tell you what to do with your office and who you hire because they have the purse strings. I said, no, they don't. I told them about the court case that was going on that already showed that sheriffs had the right to pick who they wanted to. You issue the budget, I pick the people, not you. But I had to keep fighting with them and had to acquiesce, and finally I got my staff together. But right after that, the executive said, I'm going to issue an executive order because I don't like Trump. Everybody here in the politics around here in Pierce County doesn't like President Trump, and so people pay for that, right? So I'm issuing an executive order that says no county department or any elected official is allowed to enter into any contract, memorandum of agreement, memorandum of understanding with the federal government without my permission. So I went to the prosecutor again and said, hey, Madam Prosecutor, this is what's going on. He doesn't have the right to do that. It's unconstitutional. She told me, oh, no, he's got the right to do that because in the Pierce County Charter, we're a charter county. I'll tell you all more about that later. It says the sheriff is an executive department of the executive. That's something we have to fix this year in our charter, people. It's causing me trouble. Anyhow, she said that, and I said, well, if that's true, if he can issue an executive order, then I guess he can issue an executive order tomorrow or today that says Keith Swank is no longer sheriff of Pierce County. And she said, no, he can't do that. You're independently elected. And I said, do you see what's going on here? And so I told her she was incompetent and that I was going to find another attorney. So I found another attorney, and then the prosecutor filed a lawsuit against the attorney. An injunction was filed, and the judge said this. Listen, this is what the judge said. Sheriff Swank is not allowed to have an attorney other than the prosecuting attorney unless a prosecuting attorney decides to pick an attorney for Sheriff Swank. Did you hear that? So the judge filed an injunction on my attorney, and then the prosecutor picked an attorney for me to represent me against her and limited his scope of authority. And people said to me, well, why don't you just sue her? I can't have an attorney. Have you ever heard of that? People say, no, it can't happen in America. Yes, it's happened in America. It's happening in Pierce County. I can't have an attorney of my own choosing. You heard me right. My attorney wasn't even going to charge you any money. She was going to represent me for free. They wouldn't allow it. So they hired me an attorney for $400 an hour, and now they write stories about me about how much money I'm wasting. So that's what we're fighting on here, people. I got 3 minutes to go, so I'm going to tell you some more things. State legislature is going to pass a sheriff qualification bill this year, and in that bill, they're going to say things like this. If there's any hate speech, the sheriff can be decertified. And they already have 3 complaints against me at the Criminal Justice Training Center, which is weaponized. And one of them is because I said this on X, this hate speech. I said, transgender women are men. And so now they want to decertify me for that. And I don't know if my friend Peter Talbot from the Tacoma News-Tribune is here tonight. He's supposed to be here. And Peter, if you're here, I'm glad you're here. I want to say that again so you can write it down right. Transgender women are men. So, some people say to me, well, Sheriff Swank, you have lots of sheriffs on the east side of the mountains, and they're conservative, and they'll really just stand up and defend you. Guess what? There's a couple. The rest of them, who are members of the Washington Sheriff's Association and the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, say to me, we should compromise with them. We'll write up our own bill of qualifications, and then they'll accept that. And I told them they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know politics. They don't know Democrats. And they try to tell me I don't know what's going on. And I say to them, and I'm saying to you again, I won the election of a county of 1 million people. I know what's going on politically, and you can count on that. So I decided I'd start an organization of sheriffs myself. It's called WSSWS, and it's Washington State Sheriffs with Spines. And I got one member tonight. January 15th, they'll be discussing this bill down in Olympia. I suggest you all go down there. I'm going to change my schedule around to go down there. I'm going to wear my uniform. I'm going to wear my gun belt. I don't know. Maybe they won't let me in the place. Then I'll have to tell them I'm a sheriff. I'm allowed to do that. I don't know where that will go. But I'll be down there. I'm fighting for your rights every single day. You can ask Mrs. Sheriff. We fight together every day for you, and we'll never stop. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Pierce County. And God bless America.
He's the best. Okay, because we are staying on time, and I've been a good boy up here, we are blessed to have a couple of nonpartisan types. We've got our county chairman, Dave McMullen, and our state chairman, Jim Walsh, two of the best chairmen in the state. Come on up, guys.
We both want to say we're honored to be on this stage with you guys this evening. Isn't this been great? We're up here, of course, representing the Republican Party. We are the party of law and order. We are the party that supports our elected sheriffs. And we are in Pierce County. The Pierce County Republican Party loves our Pierce County Sheriff's Department. We support them 100%, and we support our sheriff, Keith Swank, 150%. We are here to serve the people. But this is a nonpartisan event, and I assure you, we as Republicans are up here on stage with you, supporting our sheriffs, and the Democrats are here, out prostituting themselves on a street corner. So we're all here as a happy family. I want to introduce our state chairman, Jim Walsh, because the The gates of hell are going to be opening up on Monday, and another legislative session is about to begin. Jim is going to give you the bullet points of the things we need to be aware of. So give it up for our state chairman, Jim Walsh.
Thanks so much, Dave. Thanks, everybody, for being here. You've heard a little bit of the talk tonight about these bills in Olympia. And I'm going to walk you through it, the details of what they are and what they want to do. There are two primary bills that are targeted at elected sheriffs and really all law enforcement, if you think about it. That's House Bill 1399, you've heard a little bit about it, and Senate Bill 5974. I know people like to look these things up on the internet and read them, and that's great. That's a good thing to do. I want you to remember the numbers, 1399 and 5974, because what I want you to do when you go home tonight, when you talk to people over the weekend, I want you to log on to the website of the legislature in this state, leg.wa.gov, leg.wa.gov. I want you to type in the numbers. There's a little menu. You can look up bills, 1399 and 5974. And I want you to dial those in, go look at the language, and you can comment on these bills. You can say whether you like them or you don't, yes or no, and you can leave a short statement. Now, I want you to say you're opposed to 1399 and 5974. Both of them in their titles talk about modernizing, that's the word they use, modernizing how sheriffs are certified and how they serve in this state. And you've heard a little bit about what they do. They're not twin bills exactly. Their wording and their structure is a little different. The Senate one, the 5974, in my opinion, is the worst of the two, but they're both very bad. And what they do is they centralize the power in the government, particularly in the office of the state attorney general, to decertify an elected sheriff. And while that doesn't take away your ability to vote on the sheriff directly, it sets in motion the move to get rid of direct election of sheriffs. And we've seen this happen in some places. To our north here in King County, Seattle, by a charter amendment and by a local ordinance, they got rid of their sheriff as an elected official. That sheriff in King County is now appointed by the county council up there. And that's the reason why. In the past, you may remember Dave Reichert, the sheriff and later congressman, was an elected sheriff in King County. No more elected sheriff in King County. And when the sheriff is not elected, and we're seeing it right now in King County, the sheriff is a servant not of the people, but of the county council. And we're seeing it go on right now. You know the story. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, half those people out front protesting don't even know what ICE means. They don't. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has a facility in King County, and you know, there's been protests, there have been all kinds of things going on, and the sheriff, the appointed sheriff, will not take any action to enforce the law there because the keepers, the left-wing council, tells the sheriff what to do. Is that what you want in a sheriff? So 1399, 5974, leg.wa.gov, go on, read them. Read about their modernization. Read about how they're going to take away the authority of the locally elected sheriff and turn them into bureaucrats and say you oppose that. Defend constitutional sheriffs defend the Washington State Constitution, and defend yourselves. Because in this state, all political power is inherent in the people. God bless you.
Two of the best right there. Very blessed to have Dave McMullen here at Pierce County and Jim at the state getting things done. Bear with me 1 second as I regather my notes here. I've got to do a few thank yous here. Thank yous and recognitions. We've got a lot of elected officials here. I'm going to try and go fast because the main show's coming up with General Flynn. Okay, we've seen and saw Jim Walsh right there, our state chair. Of course, we've heard from State Senator Jim McCune. I know that he was here. Is he still here? Is State Representative Matt Marshall here? Matt is a rising star in the party. I did see him. He's in the foyer. Okay, well, hey, pray for Matt Marshall. He's a rising star, and he's going to be a powerhouse on our side. And of course, we heard from Amy, and she doesn't like a lot of fanfare, but thank you for coming, Amy. Pierce County Republican Party Vice Chair Kristen Bridgen Brown, who's helped bring this thing together. Kristen, if you're out there, give us a wave. Pierce County Republican Party State Committeeman Dave Prutzman. Is Dave here? Dave was selling T-shirts out in the parking lot. He was parked a little far out there looking lonely. If he's still there on the way out, stop by and buy a T-shirt from Dave. He does so much for the party. Snohomish County Republican Party Chairman Steve Mossman, are you still here? Steve. Oh, there he is right there. I'm having trouble seeing with all these bright lights up here. Lewis County Republican Party Chair Greg Rohr. Greg in the back corner there. Is that Greg? Is that Greg back there? Okay. 2nd Legislative District Republican Chairman Nick Lamoth. There he is right there. 38th Legislative District Republican Chair Mary Keel. She's been here, I guess she's up that way. Okay, up that way, okay. And as you can tell, this is really a nonpartisan event here tonight. We have Pierce County Charter Review Commissioners here tonight. Very important group of people who the fate of our sheriff can be in their hands as well as they're convening to go through the county charter, and these folks have a vote, and they're here tonight. Jerome O'Leary, are you here? Brenda Maluski, there's Brenda. Holly Rogie, she's straightened me out on that once before. Sharon Hannock. Judson Willis. I will wish them all well as they begin their undertaking soon. Candidate for U.S. Congress in the 4th Congressional District and Trump-endorsed candidate Gerald Sessler. Gerald? Oh, here he is. Here he is. Okay. God bless you. We have many PCOs here this evening. Give them a hand and thank you for coming tonight. Did I miss anyone else? I know I must have, but those came off our list, which was done earlier today, and a lot of people poured in. And a sincere thank you tonight to the entire staff of Experience Church who helped make this event happen. Another sincere thank you again to Christian Bridge and Brown, Jeanette Montgomery, who recently lost her husband. Huge memorial service yesterday for a great man, Lance Montgomery. Boy, are we going to miss him. We're going to miss him. John Leslie, are you here? John, one of our Republican leaders, he's over there. A lot of work being done by that man there, getting the word out. Polly Stickney, I know her very well. And our event sponsors, Jim McHugh's Moral Accountability PAC, MacPAC, Senator Jim McHugh. Visit his table tonight. Join. Freedom Project Academy, that's Polly Stickney again. Visit her table tonight. And again, 2nd Legislative District Republicans Nick Lamoth and his wife Lori. Then there's Loving Liberty and Freedom Law School. Okay, that's it for that. Now, the main event. Okay, you got video? You want me to just step out of the way? You want an introduction? What's that? Let's turn on the video. Let's go.
Meet Sam Bushman, a devoted family man and champion of God, family, and country. For almost 30
not that
years,
one.
Sam has used his God-given talent to host impactful discussions on a wide range.
We are looking for the General Flynn video. Okay. Apparently there is a problem with that one. So I'm going to go back here. Bear with me. We've been a little chaotic with all our speakers and new people from out of town. But let's talk about General Flynn. Okay? A decorated former U.S. Army officer, intelligence expert, and national security leader with more than 33 years of service in the Army, Joint and Special Operations Forces. Throughout his career, Flynn was at the tip of the spear, leading high-stakes intelligence and combat operations that protected American lives and national security. His unwavering commitment to deeply held values and principles earned him the respect of service members nationwide, even as it drew fire from the entrenched elements of the Washington establishment. After serving as the 25th National Security Advisor of the United States, Flynn became a target of the Obama administration during the contrived Russiagate fiasco. Facing intense scrutiny and politically motivated attacks, and despite all this, he remained steadfast in championing truth, integrity, and American sovereignty, continuing to support those who defend the nation and to stand firmly for the principles that safeguard freedom and security. His career has been a testament to courage, leadership, and the willingness to do what is right, even when confronted by the full weight of the establishment. Let's give a warm welcome to General Flynn.
I didn't know you were going to show a video.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Great. Whenever I get introduced, I always like listening to the bios because maybe I'll turn one of them into an obituary at some point. You know? Yeah, you're right. Whoever said that, you're exactly right. Are there any protests? I understand that there's some protester that wants to get something off their chest. You want to do a name call or something, just do it now. And get it off your chest. Seriously, somebody up there. Okay. I've been called every name in the book. And then the opposite name in the book. So, Semite, anti-Semite, right? Zionist, anti-Zionist. Crazy stuff. when I say things like, I'm a Christian nationalist, right? So, well, I want to kind of, because I talk about stuff like this sometimes because words matter. Words matter a lot. They matter a lot. I'm a big pro-life person, huge. But I don't like the term unborn, because I believe in the moment of conception. And I tell you, I kind of start with this because words matter a lot, and what we have lost is we have lost the war of words. Absolutely lost the war of words. The sheriff that was up here talking about, the way that they're describing trying to take basically, the rights away from we the people, it's a big deal. The idea of, like, when you hear the word nationalism, right? Ism is the belief in something, right? The belief in something. That's what ism means. Islamism, nationalism, communism, socialism, imperialism, fascism. It's the belief in then whatever that first word is, right? So belief in nation. That's what nationalism is, right? You believe in your nation. So I'm a nationalist. I believe in nationalism. I believe in my nation, right? And that's fine. And I'm a Christian. Now, I happen to be raised as a Catholic kid in a big Irish Catholic family. And, and I have I've written a bunch of books, and one of them I took on the Pope because in a particular case up in Boston, it was a case out of Pennsylvania, and it ended up in the court in Boston, Massachusetts, and it had to do with pedophilia. And the Church of Rome wanted to protect this particular priest who was a pedophile, and they wanted to use canon law. So canon law is the law of the Catholic Church. Okay, now what other law exists in a religion? Sharia. Who just said that? You, Lori? Somebody back here. Okay. Yeah. Sharia, right? So they tried to use canon law in this church, or in this case, and the judge in Boston basically said, well, wait a second, this is the United States of America. We're going to use the Constitution. We are going to prosecute this case in my court using the Constitution of the United States of America. And of course, the priest was eventually found guilty. But the church came in with like 20 lawyers. Church of Rome came in with like a bunch of lawyers to try to argue that this particular person was protected under canon law because he was a part of the church. So, and this is not to bash that kind of stuff. This is about words, because words matter so much, and we are losing the war of words. Because that's sort of one part of what I want to my message that I want to get across tonight, because we have a tendency to kind of, where we get attacked constantly. And then we stand there, we go, I don't know, and we don't want to be attacked. I mean, honestly, the courage of you, Pastor, and opening up, this forum. Yeah, I mean, it's a big round of applause. Him and Lori both of you guys. I mean, and I've been around this country a lot. I mean, a lot. And most of the stages or platforms that I've stood on have been churches. I'd say, in the last 4.5 years, certainly the last 4.5 years, I probably have been to, I don't know, maybe 150 to 200 cities or towns in this country to warn people, okay, to warn you, because that's what I was doing. That's what my life has been. But for many, many years, it was about warnings about things happening around the world that, frankly, were ways and ideologies, talking about isms, ideologies that were anti-American and were against our way of life. And they're very, very dangerous. But then all of a sudden, what I started to see, and this goes back before I even left the military, what I started to see was this creeping inside of our own country. When we talk about, why would we allow the Chinese government to buy so much real estate around sensitive military property? I mean, why would we do that? Why would we allow, and I get, this is not just about, because I'll take a shot at our president because I know him, and if I disagree with him, there are things I disagree with. But like, for example, another thing about the Chinese, why would we allow 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 students from China to come into the United States of America to attend our colleges and universities? I mean, do we think that we're going to change their mind and turn them into Democrats? Well, yeah, maybe Democrats. Wait, that's right. And you started laughing. I started, oh, man, that's right. They're kind of close. But I mean, so when those, this is back in the late 90s. So in like 1997, 1998, the Clintons were in power in the White House, and they started to allow this. Okay, and it hasn't ended. And Trump just did a thing a little while back there, a couple months back, where he's allowing it to continue. And they donate and actually the Chinese they're the third largest donor to our colleges and universities in the country. Okay, Qatar is the number one to the tune of billions of dollars a year. Germany is actually number 2, which is interesting. And then China's number 3, but you're talking about billions of dollars. So why would we allow China to send hundreds of thousands of students, and they go through a 4-year degree, and then they may stay for a master's degree or a doctorate, so they might be here for 6 or 7 or 8 years. They were only coming for 1 year at a pop, and then they'd have to go back home because it's a 1-year visa, finish the school year, you have to go back home. Now, what does the Chinese government do? What the Chinese government does is they hold their families hostage until those people return. You rarely hear about any Chinese students, claiming some type of asylum. I mean, if anybody in the room has heard that, come and see me, because I need to know about that, because that's a great example. But there's hardly any, because they are threatened, and they're not sent here, to learn a liberal arts degree. They're here to learn science, technology, engineering, and math, right? The STEM. And they're here to work inside of our best university. I'm dealing with a little bit of a head cold here because of the traveling I do. But they're here to take information and intellectual property. So that's been going on since about 1998, right? Average, it's been about 200,000 a year. When John Kerry became the Secretary of State after Hillary Clinton, and he was Secretary of State, second Secretary of State for Obama, he authorized the Chinese to have a 2-year visa. Okay? So I'm going down this, telling you this because you need to know that the infiltration inside of our system, inside of our body, our country, is so deep and so pervasive. And it's not just a couple of people in a university or in Washington, D.C. They're all over the place. Okay? They're all over the place. So John Kerry authorizes a 2-year visa. So what did that mean? That meant that we got to do something with them for the time that they're here. So they come in as a freshman or a sophomore or junior, whatever, in a college or university. So now they're going to stay over. So what do? What are the things that in this case, that administration, the Obama administration, offered them? They offered them jobs as interns. They offered them jobs in corporate America. They offered them jobs in Congress. They offered them jobs at states' capitals. They offered them jobs in labs. They offered them jobs in some of our best industries. Why? Because everybody, Americans, we want to be nice, right? And at the time, it's like nobody's talking about this. Okay, nobody's talking about this. Nobody cared about it, but all of a sudden it started to become visible in these last few years because you got a guy like Donald Trump that says, I've had enough. Because I talked earlier today, you know, when Trump came down that escalator, you know, he wasn't sure until he got to the bottom whether he was going to run as a Democrat or a Republican. Seriously. Because he could have done either. He really could have. And I think at the end of the escalator, he finally decided, I'm going to run as a Republican. And thank God he did, because he has restored and he's created an awakening in this country that we need. Now, I pray that it's not too late. Okay, I pray that it's not too late. Because these things that I was just talking about, these words that are out there that we have a difficult time fighting back against, because if you get slandered in the media, you get told you're at your work, or geez, if you went to Washington D.C. for January 6th, right? Oh my God, to stand there and say I love our country. I mean, everything that we have seen in the last decade is mind-blowing, right? I hope I'm not, up here preaching to a vacuum here, right? I mean, everything that we have seen in the last 10 years alone is mind-blowing. It is so, I don't know. I mean, I wake up some days and I say to myself, because this is my life. It's my life. And everything that I did in service to this country, and I, still feel like that's my calling, I look at this and I'm kind of looking at this and I wake up sometimes and I say, God, is it fixable? Is it fixable? This whole issue with the sheriffs in this state, there's a couple of states that don't have sheriffs. Connecticut's one. Connecticut is a total mess, right? There's another state that has kind of what you guys are going through right now. That's Rhode Island. I'm from Rhode Island. I grew up in Rhode Island. Another state is Hawaii. They have, I think they call them constables. I mean, sheriff, the idea of a sheriff in the United States of America, it goes back to the 700s, okay, in the era of shires, or what they would call reeves. And they actually had the word chief at that time, 700. And we brought it with us, so as time went on and progressed, and we came to the United States of America, we brought this idea of a shire, a reeve, or a sheriff. And actually one of the first sheriffs, one of the original sheriffs in the United States of America, happened to be George Washington's father. His name was Augustine Washington. He was a sheriff. Pretty cool. So there's a history here that we have, and Sheriff Mack and I mean, we've connected because there's like in the military we call it a redoubt, meaning it's like the last line of defense. So if you want, you come with me, you stand on the redoubts of America, right? Because that's the last line of defense. Because there's people tonight. I'm paying very close attention to this situation, of course, in Iran. I have a lot of friends who are Iranians in this country that escaped way back when. I got a lot of friends that I serve with in the military that escaped as children. They escaped from Cuba. And of course, I served a long time ago with people from Venezuela, a long time ago. And now we're going through that again. So there's this, there's this cry for freedom, right? There's this cry for freedom. And in this country, we sometimes just take it for granted. We so take it for granted. And when we talk about elections, I mean, I'm in the middle of, in fact, an hour ago in your office here, I'm back there talking to the assistant to the president for election security and integrity about, what's going on? Where are we? What do we need to do? And what more? How can I help? Because I have a lot of people and a great network of people that trust me, and I'll get in there and I'll mix it up. And so We have to have fair elections in this country. If we don't have fair elections, we don't have a country. We don't. We just don't. And you know, machines and mail-in ballot and all this stuff. But the worst thing, even worse than that, because we don't have a system that's fair. We don't have an election system that is fair. We don't. Now, there might be some shining lights out there here and there, but you know, if you're using machines or you're using mail-in ballots, they're so filled with the ability to commit fraud. It's just outrageous. And when somebody tells you you're paying for the damn machine, and then they tell you you can't look at it, you can't look into it, right? I mean, come on. You see these mail-in ballots that go because we have one of the things I'm involved in. We have a federal case right now in a civil court on mail-in ballots. That 2.1 million mail-in ballots that left a U.S. Postal Service headquarters in New York City and went to 8 states. And on these gaylords, they call them, or pallets on the back of a truck. And the pallets, 2.1 million ballots, clean, flat, right, all filled in with just Joe Biden and no envelopes at all. And then they were delivered to 8 states. I mean, and you kind of go, you know, but it's in a federal court, you know, and so, you know, I won't get into all the details and the weeds of that, but it's just incredible levels of corruption. So the problem, though, is that you're going to have an election in this state. Primaries begin in Arkansas in 2 months, and they run through all the states by August. And you know what the turnout's going to be? The average turnout for midterm elections nationwide in the primaries is probably going to be somewhere between 20 and 30%. The average turnout. Now, the elections themselves, the primary elections, probably going to be maybe 35%, because that's the norm. That's so if we go based on history. Now, I hope that I'm wrong, and I hope that people make me wrong. But the norms are about that. That's terrible. That's like a failing grade. If there's any teachers in here, if you gave somebody a 35, they failed miserably, right, on a test. We're failing as American citizens to exercise our duty and our responsibility to vote. Now, where do the voting numbers, where do the percentages go up? They go way up. Guess where? In the cities. In the cities, okay? in the state of Kentucky, in a off-year election for governor. So Kentucky's got Lexington and Louisville, 2 big cities, okay? The Democrats, and that's got Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell as senators, right? Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell. So big names, right? In generally the Republican Party. But they have a governor who is a Democrat and really is a hardcore socialist. And so when you look at that race for the governor, where was the turnout? And why did the governor wins the Democrat, hardcore, he's a big time socialist. So he wins the election. The entire down ballot, lieutenant governor, attorney general, secretary of state, treasurer, are all Republicans. How does that happen? How it happens is the people in their party went into the places where they can control. They went into the cities of Lexington and Louisville, and they got the voters to turn out, and they said, vote for one person, and one person only, the governor. We don't care about the others. You know why? Because they don't have executive authority. The governor does. So in Kentucky, once you take that level of power, it's really hard to take that back. It really is. It gets hard to take that back. I mean, Washington State, or the West Coast, Oregon. We used to do these Reawaken tours, you know. We did one out here. Yeah. We did one out here at a speedway. Yeah, we did one. It was great. It was great, and you know, we did one in Oregon too. Salem, yeah, but just outside of Salem at a baseball park, and God, the stories that I could tell of us trying to do a Reawaken tour, which was Reawaken America, to talk about health freedom, our personal freedoms. For anybody that ever went to any of those, you know, they were a lot of fun. We lasted 2 or 3 days. You know, it was just a blast, and we know we'd get people fired up, right? But to hold them in any place, we got thrown out of so many places, constantly. It was so much. We did 25 of them in 3 years. 25 of them. We averaged about probably 4,000 or 5,000 people, you know, at each one. And what I learned was how hard it was in those places where these people wanted this kind of energy. They wanted this to know, what the heck do we do? And this was all during the Biden administration. You know, the fake Biden administration. So forgive me for my voice a little bit. But the whole issue of what's going on in this country, it's not, you know, and the gentlemen that were up here from the party, right, the county party chief there and the state chair, which is great that they showed up. You know, they seemed like pretty sharp and really strong guys, you know, and leaders out there. I mean, you're kind of lucky. I mean, that's a glimpse of who they are. I don't really know them, but they just seem like they're pretty fired up, and they know what they're up against. And you're up against a lot out here. I mean, this is not easy. To stitch the fabric of this country back together, it's not going to be easy. And it's not going to take one man, namely President Donald J. Trump. Okay, when I talk about, you know, voting percentages in the country, it's terrible. The last 10 presidential elections, the percentage turnout was less than 70%. Less than 70% for the presidential election. That means 30% of the people that can vote, register to vote, and you know, and have the ability to vote, don't. That's 30%. I mean, when you think about that, it's like, God, I mean, every day we're having more and more of these conversations about what the heck is going on. I mean, look at the trillions of, you know, and it's going to be trillions of dollars of stolen money, right? Taxpayer money. I mean, I'm like, am I going to pay my federal taxes again? I mean, they ought to be sending us a check for $1 million, right? I mean, and I don't expect you to know this, but maybe you saw it today. You know, John Solomon just broke that up in Minnesota. This Somali community, they were using TSA, okay, back through Minneapolis Airport, and they're sending $1 million a day in cash in bags, carrying it through TSA, and then flying back to Somalia. $1 million a day. I mean, never mind Russiagate. Oh my God. It's like, what? I mean, this is money that is secured through congressional action, flows through the system, a grant's given to a medical clinic or a children's clinic, right? And they're supposed to use it for children. I have a friend right now, a young lady, Angela Stanton King. She's a granddaughter of Martin Luther King. She sent me a note this morning. She's out in L.A. She actually works in Atlanta with unwed mothers and saving children, saving babies. You know, somebody goes to a Planned Parenthood, right? Planned Parenthood, it's a death clinic, right? So she grabs these young ladies before they get in there, and she tries to help them, and she's saved so many. She's out in L.A. today, and she's filming, and she's showing, you know, children, babies. I mean, babies in like these little tiny bassinets, living on the street like a homeless person. And they got this is in LA, in kind of the Skid Row area. And you know what she told me? She told me this morning. She told me that the mayor, right? Remember that whole place the whole place burned down because they didn't want to put water in the dam, in the pond thing there, the aquifer, to be able to take care of fires, right? The city of Los Angeles this past year got $100 million for child care. $100 million. I mean, you know, let's just say there's 200 million adults in this country, okay? $200 million. That's a 50, well, you know, I don't know what, I'm not a math major. That's a big check to every single adult, right? LA got $100 million. So, and that's, again, this is taxpayer money. It's not something that the county got taxed for. They probably got taxed for it too. They probably got taxed 2 or 3 times. It didn't take that much for people, you know, in 1775, 1774, you know, to sit there and go, we ain't having this anymore, right? But we're more sophisticated, right? Well, maybe, you know, we should be able to do this at the ballot box, right? We have a system, and we are not a democracy. We have a system of government that is based on rule of law, you know, and we have an election. You know, we're supposed to elect people that, you know, as a representative government, right? Our representatives, either whether it's a sheriff or whether it's a state or state rep or state senator or city councilman or school board, we elect these people. You know, not enough people get out there and get engaged. Now, I will tell you that I have been very blessed to have met an awful lot of people that have said, I am done, I am now going to get involved, okay? And they're involved. And I use this phrase, local action equals a national impact. Local action, national impact. If you get involved at the school board level, and you see these people sometimes, you see a lot of sheriffs too that all of a sudden they stand up for something and they have a national impact. Or a mom that stood at a podium at a school board, right? And they go viral. It goes viral on the internet because she's not she doesn't want her children to learn about pornography at the age of 6, right? I mean, but we all kind of go, and now I'm sort of counseling. I'm going to get into my counseling mode here, okay? Because I you know, honestly, I'm here to warn you, okay? And my warning is like, you know, one of the things that I have with me is I have George Washington's farewell address to the nation after serving eight years as our first president. And in that address, it's not like, hey, thank you, great, you know, we have a wonderful country, you know, we're moving in the right direction. No, it was a warning. It was a warning, George Washington. And he basically warned about don't get overextended in foreign affairs, number one. And the second thing was he warned about the internal corruption that exists within men, okay? Within the parties that control lives. Basically, he's talking about corruption. It's a fascinating read, and you should read it. Not much longer, like probably, let's just say 50 years later, at the age of 28 years old, Abraham Lincoln, he warned us again. And Abraham Lincoln, in a very famous speech where there was anarchy in the state of Missouri at the time, they were hanging people, just, you know, it was like local, they were doing it on their own, they were doing whatever they wanted to do. Total anarchy. So Lincoln goes in as a young man, big guy, right? And he had been running for offices. He never won much until he finally became president of the United States, thank God. But years later, so in 1838, he has a warning. It's called the Lyceum Speech, if you want to go study a little history. And in the Lyceum Speech, it's actually a pretty good speech, but in it there's a part of it that says that the United States at the time, He says, we will never be, he said that no one will ever take a step in Ohio or on the Blue Ridge or a drink from any of the rivers that existed at the time from overseas. No foreign foe will take a drink from the Ohio or take a step on the Blue Ridge. Never. Even if they have a Bonaparte for a commander, because Bonaparte was still, he was fresh in the minds of everybody at that time. He said, no. He said, if America dies, we will die by our own suicide. Okay? Then you fast forward to a guy like Eisenhower. And Eisenhower, again, finishes up 8 years, right? And what's the very famous, because it's more recent in many people's minds, what's the thing that he warns about? Military-industrial complex, right? The rise of the military-industrial complex. Because if you don't have a boogeyman, right? If you don't have a boogeyman, why do you got to have all this stuff? So all this stuff that's going on in overseas right now, particularly over in Europe, and I can tell you definitely over in the Middle East, which I spent 5 years of my life, 5 years of my life over there, right? So in combat, not just hanging out in an assignment, but in direct combat against vicious enemy forces. So the military-industrial complex, it was a warning. JFK, right, warned about an element within our government. Said, I'm going to break it into 1,000 pieces. He was killed. I mean, we finally got, the Kennedy files released, declassified and released. But, nobody even talks about it anymore because it would happen and it's so long ago. But you know something? They didn't release all the files. They still haven't released the files. Now, it's, for Trump, it's like, okay, I got it. He's got bigger things on his plate. But all those files haven't been released yet. But with the files that have been released, it's clear that our government killed a duly elected sitting president of the United States, or elements in our government. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts. So, here I am. Now, there have been different things along the way. Reagan says, we're one generation away from losing our freedom, right? That was back in the 80s. You know what a generation is? It's about 25 years, okay? So, here we are. Here we are. I went through this whole historical thing early this morning when we had some media in here that we were doing a thing here with, and I talked about the rise and fall of nation states and stuff like that, because I'm fascinated by it, and because it matters. It matters to who we are and what is happening to our country. And the average lifespan for the empires of the world that have existed back to the Mesopotamian Byzantine Empire, actually is the original first empire, Byzantine Empire. That's why we use, something so old, it's Byzantine, right? So, yeah, that's where those things come from, words. So the average lifespan of, all these empires that rose and fall is about 250 years. It's the average lifespan. I'm not making that up. Those are thorough, detailed studies of the rise and fall of many nation states, many empires in the history of the world, about between 200 and 300 years. So we're at 250 years, right? And where are we? I mean, it's like some days I wake up and I go, I'm not sure we can fix this. It is so deeply corrupted. But then other days, maybe by the end of the day, I get a kick in the rear end from my wife or my members of my family, and they're like, nope, you get back into that fight. Because that's what I always remember as a kid growing up with a very tough Irish family, where it's like, no, I don't care what happens. You go, somebody smacked you. My father would say, you go back out there. You pick a fight with that person. Okay, don't come home and cry to me, right? So what I'm telling you is we cannot stand around and whine and talk and cry and worry and wring our hands. We have got to stand up. We have got to get involved. We have And I mean it. And so whatever you do, these next couple of days, you know, these people that are standing outside, it's so funny reading some of the signs. But you think about what I'm talking about. You think about everything that you've heard. You think about what can you do, right? What is your duty? What is your responsibility? What is your skill set? What is your talent? What is your capability? Not everybody can wear a uniform. I know that. Not everybody can join the military. Not everybody can be a law enforcement professional. That's okay. But everybody that is an American can do something, okay? And as an American adult, and I know it's tough. I know it's tough with jobs and kids and all the stuff that we go through. I got all that. But the sacrifice that is required right now by every single American is monumental. And it's necessary. Because if we don't get through this period of time that we are in right now, we are going to lose everything. We are going to lose our way of life. And it can happen like that. And the other, that's inside, that's internal. Then, you know, it's like I said about Lincoln. No foreign foe is going to come in here and take us on and kick our rear end. No way. No way. It's going to happen because we allowed it to happen. We allowed this, you know, it's like the boiling frog, right? I mean, you know, the temperature's hot, man, and we can't climb out of this pot. Now, you can climb out, you know, maybe there's more than one frog in that pot, which there is, right? So part of what I'm saying there is help each other. Help each other out. Whether it's to get involved in a sheriff's association or a church or something that you have in your community, wherever you came from, wherever you drove from, whether it's from, you know, local Idaho or Montana or Wyoming or Oregon or right here in Washington, you have got to get involved. These elections, these people that are running for elections, they need help. They need volunteers. I mean, they do. They need help. So, you know, and I again, I apologize for my voice, but I want you to know that it's guys like me. I am going to go to the rafters. I mean, they will, and they try. Believe me, I got security here tonight. I got people that I got a threat. You know, I got threats here, right? This is insane. You know, I tell them, I know they picked the wrong goddamn Irishman. Okay. Yeah. But we all have, like I say, I have a duty and a responsibility to do the things that God called me to do. Okay? You may not have felt that yet in your life, but you have a God-given talent, skill, capability, and He is calling you right now. Okay, and you may not know it yet. So get out there and pray a little bit more. But I'm just telling you, you have got to let it all sink in these next couple of days, and then you figure out what you're going to do. Because you better do something, because when it's all said and done, and you're looking at yourself in the mirror, and you're all by yourself, you know, can you say to yourself, I did everything I did everything I could. I gave it my best shot. Or it's like, I'm going to let somebody else run for sheriff. I'm going to let somebody else run for school board. I'm going to let somebody else volunteer. I'm going to let somebody else do it because I don't want to do it. And then some of that may just be prayer groups, prayer circles. Seriously. Because prayer, I tell people, prayer is in this country, prayer is the most powerful weapon system known to man. And it works. It works. So I'm looking at the clock. I'm way over. So I just want to, I want to say thank you guys, and thank you for being here tonight, and for what you're doing. And I want you to understand. I want you to understand that This is a time of sacrifice, okay? We are not in a time of enlightenment right now. We're not in a, I'd like to think that there's a little bit of a spiritual awakening because I can feel it here. I can feel it here in this place, that there's like a divine intervention. But keep in mind that, it's that the funny thing about, well, God wins. We know what the end looks like because God wins in the end. Yeah, but the journey to get there is like really, really difficult, okay? And then one thing that I can say personally is I lived Psalm 23. Okay, I lived it, right? The valley of the shadow of death, right? But fear no evil, for thou art with me, right? I mean, this country is going through the valley of the shadow of death. And if we don't understand, if we don't embrace this entity, this spirit, this spiritual presence, if we don't embrace that spiritual presence, because that's all he's asking. He's just asking, just return, wayward son, right? And I will take you through this valley, because that's what life is. Life is not this bed of roses like my mom used to say, right? It's a tough existence, sacrifice, work, right? And giving. That's the valley of the shadow of death. But when you exit, which I have done, when you exit the valley, you have a choice. And that choice, and I'll finish with this, that choice is difficult, okay? Because when you get to that edge and you're coming out of that valley, the choice to go to the really bright light is simple. It's like somebody's going to give you something, right? Here, take this, right? It's that evil presence that looks good, feels good, and you go, oh, yeah, man, I need to get out of here. I got to, and so you take it, right? It might be, it might be money, it might be drugs, it might be something that's just it's not good. But once you've taken it, then you're done. The other path, the other direction is the light is a little bit dimmer. And the path looks like it's like a little bit longer, right? And you're just coming out of the valley of the shadow of death, and you're going, man, I got to go through some more struggle? Yeah. Yes. Because that's what life is about, right? I mean, it's like if you give a child something instead of making them work for it, they're not going to like it, right? I mean, we all kind of learn that. As I look around the audience here, like I see the sort of average age, I mean, come on, right? If you were just given something, you don't appreciate it. But if you work for it, you appreciate it. Okay? So what I'm telling you and anybody that's listening on the live stream, get your rear end off the chairs, out of bed, and go work for it. Let's earn this country the way we can earn this country and the way our founders did. God bless you all. God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. I'm closing. Wow. That was amazing. You're amazing. We've run a little bit late. Just so you know, we're serious about the fundraiser, taking photos. Line up over here. It's going to be really quick. You can pay the $50 out at the table where my wife is and my son, or you can pay me when you go through here. Make any donation you want. You get to go through here. We're asking for $50, but you can do more and you can do less, okay? But we want to close the meeting. We're going to have a benediction, and that is Pastor C.L. Bryant, right? Pastor Bryant? There he is. But folks, remember CSPOA, that's where to make donations. If you want to just go to the website and pay $50 there, you can do that and go right through here. We want to make this quick because we want all of you to have a chance to take a photo with the general. Good job. And then one other thing, all these papers that were on your chairs, that's one of our sponsors. It's Freedom Law School. And I suggest you take those home and really look at them. Okay? We got a lot of people in here that know them. Okay? It's a good organization. Again, folks, it's action and prayer and more action. Faith without works is dead. Let's do it. Okay? This has been so amazing, and we're going to end with an amazing prayer.
Bless you, Sheriff Mack. I'm going to ask all of you if you would stand with me. And I do believe that there is a certain strength in uniting in hands, if you can touch each other across the aisles as we close in prayer, going to our Heavenly Father in prayer. Before you join hands, let's give it up one more time for General Mike Flynn. And for all of our law enforcement and sheriffs around this nation. Give it up for them. Let us join hands, and my friends and fellow Americans, fellow Christians, brothers and sisters, let us pray. Our Father and our God, oh, how grateful we are for this great land that you have blessed us with. Thank you for America. And we thank you for our belief in you, and we thank you for the founding principles that we are founded upon. And we thank you that in every breath of it, the genius of our founding fathers was to place you there and to let us all know throughout our generations that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Thank you for that. And Lord, now that we've heard from all of these brave, courageous Americans, men and women of faith, courage, we ask you to teach our fingers to fight and our hands to war against the enemies of this republic. We ask you to bless the efforts of our hands, order our steps in your word. I ask you to bless the pastor of this flock. Bless his wife as they lead this flock. I ask you to bless every nail that holds this place, this church together, the people that come into it. We pray that they will be blessed, healed, and nourished by the words that are written on this man and this woman's heart. Make their tongues the pens of ready writers, so that they may etch upon the hearts and minds of those that hear them your words. And now, Lord, I ask you to bless those who have put this event together. Sheriff Mack, thank you for Sam Bushman and all of those who make this possible tonight. And Lord, as we leave here, let us leave with this benediction. Now unto him who is able to keep us from falling and present us faultless before the only true and wise God, may there be grace, dominion, and power henceforth and forever. In the mighty and matchless name of the once crucified, but now risen Savior, Jesus the Christ, we pray. Let us all say together, amen.